Good day, everybody. Doja Cat 79, aka Chris, here with my usual co-host, Erica, aka The Dark Neon.
Everyone, it's such a beautiful day here on Isla and once again, we are happy to have you join us on Jurassic Tours.
Yes. And you're probably wondering, I didn't know there was no tour scored. This is kind of a bit of a last-minute tour scheduling for tonight. Uh, I will be occupied possibly tomorrow, and my good co host here will have an early work day. And as we all know, these things tend to go into the wee hours of the night. It wouldn't be fair to her to have to put all this energy into being our enthusiastic tour guide, only crash for 2 hours and have to work a soul crushing job in retail.
I, I wouldn't say it's soul crushing, but it's just a little tiring.
Yeah, you would need your
But
energy.
yes, thank you once again for joining us impromptu, especially considering the fact that we are going to deal with a movie that a lot of people usually talk about in spades, but honestly, we and Josie here kind of have like a nice warm soft spot for it.
Well, I think that we're going to have an interesting talk when we get to reactions. But yeah, as we all know, before 10 years ago, we only called this series the Jurassic Park trilogy, and this was the third in that entry. And as we all know, when by the time you get past your second slump, you either really hit highs or that's the plummet drop in a peak. I mean, we did talk about that last year with another series that's near and dear to me. That in some people's eyes, that third entry was a black mark on an otherwise successful first two entries, and for many years some people felt the same way about this one, but I think I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, we're here on our third iteration, our third tour, and we are going to go ahead and discuss where the world was a different place at this point. And also, might I add, okay, I'll get into it when we get into more detail, but let's okay. I'm gonna get my bearings. So, what we have going on is we're gonna talk about Jurassic Park 3, where if you grew up in the 2000s, it was either the one you really watched the most due to availability, because I swear to God, every Goodwill I had at least had that silver shiny case tape with the 3 going through it, or you either only saw it once because you were pretty mad about what it did. But uh, anyway, why don't we just dig into it? Enough preamble. But first, as always, our tour safety guide.
Yeah, it's my time to shine. Welcome back once again to Jurassic Tours back on Isla Sorna, aka Site B. As this island is under very strict regulations, we have been fortunate to barter this opportunity offered to us with very strict rules and guidelines for your safety and the safety of our revived animals. So please follow them or we will lose access. We will be able to explore on the convenience of this boat and ask everyone to keep hands, feet, arms, and heads inside the boat at all times. This is a live podcast stream, and we will not have any second attempts. So any flubs and mistakes may and will occur, and we will be recorded. Refrain from taking anything off the island. Many animals, including our velociraptors, will not take kindly to it and will hunt us down. Make sure to have all cage doors closed behind you as you exit, or any loose pterodons will also decide to take us for lunch. No flash photography of any kind. Silence your phones. We will need to hear the big one approaching nearby in case. Any foods must be disposed of in receptacles, and please have water on hand. The river is not tasty. We are all clear and ready to coast on. Welcome once again to Jurassic Park 3.
Ah, yes, very well. Also, despite the plethora of features that go with this movie, I will also refrain from showing any visual aids, so take my word for it. If you have the DVD or Blu ray set, it is chock full of stuff that you might want to dig into, even if this isn't your favorite movie. But anyway, so the year is 2001. Off to a good start right there already, due to that being a year. And we're already 3 years, 4 years removed from the Lost World, which, if you remember from our last, even though we are enthusiastic about it, a lot of the public felt it was a little too mean, a little too nasty, a little too dark spirited. But it did make gangbusters, and as always with Universal, ask them with Jaws, if this thing keeps making money, they will keep pumping it. So, as we learned
I,
through, oh, wait, go on.
I will say though, even with the little bit of a success with the Lost Road, there was kind of almost an unspoken truth going around that nobody really cared for dinosaurs anymore. Oh, sure, you might see them be popping up here and there, but let's be honest, Barney was starting to decline in popularity at the time. Video games like Dino Crisis wasn't really making big leeways and more sequels like its Resident Evil zombie counterpart. And frankly, the Hollywood scene was kind of distancing itself away from the dinosaur scene, considering the fact that they realize they cannot in any way compete with the Jurassic Park series.
On top of that,
So,
they went to like natural disasters and stuff, global warming, hurricane storms run amok. That was your big villain, scientific villains of the early tens, 2010s, if you remember.
regardless, there was still some popularity with the franchise, especially enough when the Universal theme parks were opening up in both Hollywood and Florida. They decided to actually bring the wish true to people and bring Jurassic Park to life. And so you would have the theme of Jurassic Park, along with certain attractions like encountering a Triceratops, like in the first movie. The very kid-focused Pteranodon flight ride, where the only way you could ride it is if you were about like a child or was accompanying a child. But of course, there was the one gangbuster main attraction of the ride, and that would be the Jurassic Park the ride, or as it's also known as Jurassic Park River Adventure, which was basically based on the unused aspect of the riverboat used from the first book that wasn't used in the first movie, but now it's actually done in the theme park. And it's pretty much like not biased to say, both for me and my co-host, the ride is actually pretty fun, especially with actual animatronics modeled pretty genuinely by the Stan Winston molds and models, and it still delivered that whimsy and mystical fun of the Jurassic Park movies, along with that danger and excitement and thrilling element of the later acts of
Yeah,
those movies.
yeah, that 80-foot drop is no joke. I think it's shorter in
So
Orlando, actually.
might be shorter or longer, it still delivers the punch. But yeah, that drop is so big that even Steven Spielberg flat out refuses to ride that drop. He will ride the ride, but he will obviously ask to be stopped at the top and vacate off of that before the big drop with the transfer.
And he's Steven Spielberg, so who's going to say no to him? Unless you're the Directors Guild when they asked to put him to direct Return of the Jedi, but that's another story. Um,
Ouch.
yeah, because okay, not to get off the weeds, but yeah. So obviously Jurassic Park still made gangbusters. Even the toys for Lost World spun off into stuff like Chaos Effect and stuff like that. So I mean, Jurassic Park was a guaranteed moneymaker. So of course, Universal always knew they were going to do another one. But it'll be things will be a little different this time around development wise. For example, the man who had given them two big roaring sequels had decided to sit this one out and only be a producer.
Wait, so we're doing a Jurassic Park movie without Steven Spielberg?
At the helm. Like he's still involved in some aspects, but uh, well, there's a little bit of a backstory behind this. There was a longtime friend and colleague of Steven that asked if he could do the sequel to Jurassic after we finished making it. And having so much fun with Jurassic, he decided to go ahead and do it again for the Lost World. But he did tell this fellow that if they come around making a third one, he's one of the first guys he'll think of when in trying to get the job for that
It's a
fellow.
it's a new fella be it's got big shoes to fill to follow up on such a big groundbreaking series that balances between practical and CGI.
Oh, that would be Joe Johnston of ILM fame, and he had directed movies up to that point like The Rocketeer and such. And he's had his credits in other big franchises like Star Wars and the like. I mean, he was and in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was the guy who painted the matte painting behind Obi-Wan when he was shutting off the shield generator, the tractor beam generator.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
And oh, apparently in my notes I have here, he also directed Captain America: The First Avenger. So we have a big Marvel director here in estimates.
and he also did that Benicio del Toro remake of The Wolfman, which is a very underrated sequel, a remake if you ask me. I mean, we're getting more experimental with Universal monsters these days to the point where they barely resemble their classic counterparts. But you could argue that Joe Johnston's The Wolfman is such a huge love letter to that era of filmmaking. Plus, it has Hugo Weaving as an inspector from Scotland Yard. What's not to love about that?
I need to see that. I've only seen kind of aspects of it at the Universal Monster makeup show down in Universal, but it still looks like a pretty good like the design of the wolf that they have like at the statue of it is pretty intense. So I'm definitely gonna give it a look
Yeah,
eventually. But we're not talking about werewolves. We're talking about dinosaurs here.
yes. So Joe Johnston does have a pedigree behind him, even though he's not exactly like a name director. He still made a few big notes, the stuff of note like October Sky, Jumanji. Ooh, Jumanji was him. That was awesome. And that also had a blend of CG with practical effects and stuff like that. So, yes, this guy does have some. Oh, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Ooh, that was him
Oh
too.
my god! Wow. So yeah, I definitely don't think there was any worries of who was gonna be like taking over from Spielberg here. So, well, the only worry is like, will it be just as good as the original movie, or is it gonna be its own thing like Lost World was trying to do?
Yeah,
Well,
and
the answer to that is neither.
yes. Oh. So, anyway, well, first of all, to start off, is that one thing that Johnson had in his benefit is the technology has evolved leaps and bounds nearly 10 years between Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 3, given that we've had stuff like Star Wars come out for, and Twister. I mean, everything ILM has been doing has only been evolving the technology further to it knocks the socks off of what came before. So we also know that he has some better tools to trade in. Stan Winston was at their peak at this place. It was, just he's not without lack of tools for trying to follow up on it. But as we all know from that famous George Lucas anecdote from Star Wars: The Jedi, special effect is a tool, means of telling a story. A special effect without a story is actually a pretty boring thing.
And make no mistake, there is actually more practical effects in this movie than you might remember. Like, oh sure, like I once thought that this was kind of was going to be a CG heavy thing too. But when we decided to rewatch the movie and also decided to watch the bonus features, I was kind of struck in awe of how much they still okay, so they were still following the rules that Steven decided to kind of implement when dealing these movies. The rule is if you have wide shots, those are going to be your CGI dinosaurs. If there's any up close ones or people that are like right in the frame interacting with them in any way, those are going to be your practical shots. And they definitely lived up to it for the most part, at least.
Yes,
Especially with the carnivores. Most of the carnivores in this movie have their practical counterparts.
yes, and so, but like going back to my George Lucas anecdote, it does kind of seem to hold fight because they were they. This is one of those movies where they put a bunch of oh crap, I'm sorry, my train of thought just zipped out there.
Chaos theory is what you lovely call this moment.
Yes,
Our
yes. I'm
little
sorry.
live chat.
I saw something in my Discord pop up, so I was saying, what was my train of thought going on about special effect and sorry? Oh yeah, so when they had a locked in date, one of those lovely things where the studio tells you you're gonna shoot by this day and get it out done on that day, and you send your poor guy out to the wolves without a proper script already locked in place. Like they had inklings of an idea, a couple of outline treatments and stories, but they sent the poor guy out there saying, "Okay, make something happen out of this." And because one thing Steven at least had, not only did he have such a great team within the effects department, but he also had a reliable guy he's worked with before, like in David Kep, and even had a close working relationship with Michael Crichton. But this was also not only the first movie without David Kep and Steven Spielberg. This is also the first movie without Michael Crichton writing anything for a third movie. He didn't even make like a third book to go off of what he left off in The Lost World, because I think he at this point he figured I'd already done my piece with the dinos, so he never did a third book, and he moved on to other stuff at that point. This is when he was starting to explore some interesting, microbiology and stuff like that. So he had already moved on from Jurassic Park, so uh, they had to go and do the old fashioned, well, grab a scriptwriter, and I'm pretty sure the only prerequisite was make lots of dinosaurs and lots of sequences. That's probably the only note they probably got in writing the story.
And in truth, there is actually a little bit of Michael Crichton in here. So, as we were able to mention in the previous episodes, not all of Michael Crichton writes in those novels actually made it to film, like at least one to one anyway. Sometimes, for most of the franchise you're going to see, they will take bits and pieces of the novels that didn't actually make it to film yet and decide, okay, well, this is the part where we're going to put it here. For example, like we discussed, the original Jurassic Park movie opened with the little girl with the compies. Well, that obviously didn't open with that. Instead, that opening would be used for the opening for the Lost World. And as such, there are sequences in Jurassic Park 3 that were inspired by parts in the original Jurassic Park that didn't make it into that film, where they decided, okay, so we didn't explore that, let's actually explore it in this movie here.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, well, Crichton didn't directly write it. Some of his aspects are still guiding everything. And as we all know by this point, sadly, this would be the last time he would. Lost World was the last time he would be involved with anything directly Jurassic, because he would pass away sadly in around 2008, so 2009. So all Jurassic movies that had come out since then have been in a Michael Crichton-less world. But three was the last shot to possibly get him in on it, and he decided, thank you. He politely declined. But Joe Johnston was able to get a couple of screenwriters to come up with some stories, and they had a script and everything. They were ready to shoot. That involved two chartered planes going to the Galapagos, and one of them, it was like the adults in one plane and all the teens and kids in another, and then that plane would have crashed and ended up on Sorna.
So basically, the original draft almost kind of sounds like Far Cry 3 almost.
Kind of a little Camp Cretaceous-y now that I think about it, but it makes sense that it would kind of go that way with Joe Johnston, given that one of his movies was Honey I Shrunk the Kids. So having like youngsters facing the peril with it was like no fences in the last one. Well, what about no supervision in this one? Like what happens there? I think it would have turned into a rescue mission, but um, they thought what.
I think I recall from watching Clayton Fiordi's videos. They did say they felt like, well, there's no way that kids themselves are going to be able to hold their own for a Jurassic Park movie. Which I would argue, so basically you think that kids can't hold an audience attention. How about you bring that to Honey I Shrunk the Kids, which the director himself literally just did,
The
or
Goonies.
The Goonies, like even modern day these days. So we just had Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Those kids were able to have like the arch, like the whole heavy heft of the series, on their shoulders. I mean, yeah, they did kind of have a Jude Law on their side, but it was mostly them that was covering it. And as we just did say before, there was going to be a Jurassic series that would fall following the kids that were left on Jurassic World, the Camp Cretaceous series, which turned out to be wildly successful.
Yeah, and
So
also,
that kind of hindsight went backfire on them a little bit.
and with the Skeleton Crew mention, I gotta say KB is best girl. Come at me.
I miss talk about Star Wars. We should really find a way to revive High Ground after we're done with these tours.
Perhaps we might go back to it after talking about a deep foliated substrate calcite. God,
Okay.
the way he says the word. Anyway, but yeah, the point is though, I think they were getting ready to go up to it, but I think they then changed their mind. I can't remember the exact reason why, but another reason too is that I guess that version didn't have as much legacy characters involved. So I think it was
Yeah.
they threw that script out, and they ended up getting back an original involved. In this case, Dr. Alan Grant, backed by Sam Neill, which is great because I think if people were a little bummed out that he wasn't in the second one, hell, he was bummed out that he wasn't offered a chance to reprise the role in a follow up. So when they offered him this chance, I don't think he hesitated to say no. No,
To be fair,
say
like
yes.
Sam Neill was. To be fair, well, if you ask me, if you ask like what, who do you think of when you think of Jurassic Park? I'm obviously gonna think of like, oh, Dr. Ian Malcolm, Sarah Harding, and all that. But in the grand scale of things, if you did ask me nowadays what you think of when you think of Jurassic Park, I will definitely say Sam Neill. He was like in most of the video games. People really wanted to look like him. People wanted to be like archaeologists. Like after seeing him in this
Yeah,
movie, which funny enough would
paleontologist.
yeah, that's what I mean. Not archaeologists. That's
That's
Indiana
Indy.
Jones. That's the other Spielberg guy. But yeah, when people think of Jurassic Park, they definitely think of Alan Grant, and the fact that he wasn't even like given at least a cameo role, a hand wave in the second film was kind of head tilting. But then again, ask Michael Crichton why he didn't think to bring Sam Neill back for that one.
Oh, I forgot. I could actually shed some light on this. I looked it up. That in this big ass book, The Ultimate Visual History, I have of Jurassic Park. There is a segment on 3, and it does bring up that there was another draft before they did 3. In fact, look at that beautiful concept art right there. If you can see it, the audience
Oops,
can't, but yeah.
oops, sorry, I can't see.
Oh,
Okay, there you are. I see you.
I didn't.
I kind of had I had I had the Discord window down when I was looking like at script notes
Can you?
on Wikipedia. Oh yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, so let me read this real quick, saying that okay. At producer Kathleen Kennedy's suggestion, Johnson got himself oriented in the world of Jurassic Park by joining Jack Horner and
Oh,
Roger
whoa,
Ebert.
no, no. Let's try it again. Let's slow down a little bit so the audience can
Sorry,
hear.
sorry. I'm looking at this. Let's see. Yeah. Despite the announcement of his involvement, Crichton bowed out, having worked on the script before Johnson signed on, having turned his attention to a new novel, Timeline. Fortunately, Spielberg was able to come up with a promising concept for the film. It was Steven's idea to have Sam Neill's character be discovered living on the island, said Johnson. He snuck in there after not being allowed to research the dinosaurs and was living in a tree like Robinson Crusoe. After his absence from the Lost World, Sam Neill was thrilled to be offered the chance to take another crack at Alan Grant. I think I was probably more comfortable a second time around, he reflects, and maybe that's because I was more familiar with the character. And maybe there would have been one or two things I would have played differently the first time around had I known. When Neil committed to the project, Spielberg's original idea evolved when Craig Rosenberg, writer of the director of comedy Australian comedy film drama Hotel de Louvre, was hired around summer '99 to pen this first draft of the screenplay. So Rosenberg's story followed 3 families on 2 chartered airplanes, the adult passengers in one plane, the kids on the other, on their way to the Galapagos. The Lost World Site B, as the story played host in every to the story. The kids' plane somehow crash lands on the island. You can imagine where the story goes from there. It said the script was unwieldy, overly complicated, with too much teen angst and overly witty sitcom one-liners. There were too many characters and contrived dynamics between them that took away from the fun. Fortunately, no one liked it. So that's what happened there. Johnson was like, "Yeah,
So this is a script they like at the last minute decided like no, we have to fix this up right now. This is not going to work out.
They brought in Peter Buckman was brought in to rework Rosenberg's draft around the same basic idea of families marooned on the island. But interesting to note is that in this version, Dr. Grant was already on the island, kind of living in the trees and studying the dinosaurs for himself, which is kind of funny given how he's the complete opposite of that viewpoint in the actual movie. But it's funny in this
I,
version.
I, was, I was raising my eyebrow when you were describing it. It's like, what the fuck? That doesn't sound like anything. Like you're telling me that someone who survived nearly dying from what they once considered to be their favorite extinct animal to study, they would decide like, you know what? I kind of gave this answers a bad rap. I'm just gonna go back and give them another one silver.
And then on top of that, while that wouldn't match movie Grant, that would definitely match novel Grant, who was even with the terror was still enamored with the dinosaurs. So, I guess going from that point of view, that's more over the Crichton style.
Hey, I can.
Oh shit!
Well,
Sorry,
that's probably why. What's wrong?
I just read an awesome fact. Continue with your fact.
Well, I was just gonna say it's like I guess it's that notion once again is kind of why I hope to one day get myself a copy of the original novels because the way it really is kind of striking how so different these things are that they're their own things and why I understand why people say like can we have at least a one-to-one adaptation of the books.
Anyway, anyway, hint, hint, wink, wink, maybe about possible December gatherings. Anyway, it said that Jurassic Park 3 will be Buckman's first screen credit. Although the writer had previously worked with Christopher McQuarrie on The Usual Suspects on a never-made script about Alexander the Great, but Buckman was going to be the early months of 2000. Two wealthy American tourists parasailing over Isla Sorna before cutting to Costa Rica, where they mentioned that the Minister of the Interior, they disappeared. The latest visitors go missing on Site B. So people have been going missing on Site B for a while in this version. And oh god, they even have a scene like uh, like Jaws, where they find the lacerated remains of a dinosaur victim, and Grant is still he's looking for research for he's still doing his digging stuff, trying to get funding for the digs, and he has his graduate student Billy Hume, is it Billy Brenham, and Paul Robbie, wealthy businessman, has brought that dinosaur crazy 12-year-old son Miles to the dig along with his associate Susan Bentworth, and they were a couple. Though they have yet to tell Miles, whose mother died 3 years earlier in a car crash, was Robbie at the wheel. So there's the family drama that would become the Kirbys down the line. So they talk about the dangers of the island, but they say that he reveals attacks have been taking place as far north as Baja and as far south as Panama. And when Harlan Finch tells Carlos Lopez, "Are the dinosaurs breeding?" he says, "This is not a Costa Rican problem now; it's a world problem." And let me see what happens there. To see if any more facts. So the final scene, yeah. So they said that he's late. Colonel Peters wants to finish the job, saying that bombs are dropped, causing. Oh my god! The original script ended with the bombing of the island, which is
Of
again
course it did.
from the Crichton book, and they said that the pilot spot Rob on the original aborts the attack. After the group is saved, the mission commander wants to finish the job, but Grant refuses to leave the island. He's last seen running into the jungle, recalling Robinson Crusoe's Spielberg's idea. These final scenes led to the film getting the apocalyptic new title, Jurassic Park: Extinction, a name that was later rejected. The thought from the studio, and my memory is that Steven agreed, was it sounded too final, as if it was the end of the franchise. It was also a little misleading. Extinction for who? The dinosaurs? The human race? Alan Grant? Evidently, it switched to something more simpler. No one was particularly fond of Jurassic Park 3, but at least he knew what it meant. Man, imagine that timeline where they went with that title. Because you're right, hearing Jurassic Park Extinction feels like this is the absolute end. In fact, I'm surprised. Before we got the name Jurassic World Dominion, I think people were speculating they might call the last one Jurassic World Extinction.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe that might be a future title.
I know, but if we know if that title is coming, I think that is the studio's surefire way of saying, okay,
We're done. We're all done. Wrap it up.
yeah. But so it sounds like there was a
Like,
lot of interesting ideas, and in that draft that Buckman wrote, it did make it into what we got. So why don't we go ahead and jump into the story that we got? Some names were changed and some
okay,
things were figured on the spot. So, alrighty then.
okay. So basically, the story is, Izusorna is now officially a restricted zone, as you know, it was made clear from John Hammond's declaration and the San Diego incident, which made people say like, "Yeah, we should probably leave these dinosaurs alone." However, some people have still taken to deciding to still market off the fact that there's a island of dinosaurs, including a stepfather with his son, Eric Kirby, where they decided to take a paragliding uh, touring package to get close to that, but they got a little too close and their tourists got eaten, and now they are now abandoned on Isla Sorna. Cut to weeks later, Alan Grant, who is still trying to shake off all of the public's awareness of Jurassic Park that is still latched onto him, as he's still trying to push for funding for his raptor digs, is met with William H. Macy, who is playing
Paul Kirby.
Paul Kirby of Kirby Industries, who he and his wife offered to have Alan and his associate Billy join them to give a guided tour, using his quotations, a guided tour to on plane to look through Isa Sorna for an anniversary gift. However, this little tour just ends up turning to be a little bit of a kidnapping, sort of kind of rescue op, where the family is actually trying to rescue their missing boy and their surrogate. Unfortunately, they managed to piss off a very very malicious predator that caused their little rescue mission to turn into a race of survival to get off the island. And unfortunately, during the midst of that, Alan's associate decides, well, since they're not really going to get paid for this, so I might as well just take some uh, little incentives to help pay for their dig site. Set incentives being raptor eggs.
and
Yes, those raptors.
and
The
as
dangerous killing hunting breed that will hunt everyone down with their own scent and their sickle claws.
and as we remembered
Smartest
what
decision ever.
remember what Ian told us, Mr. Lolo, taking dinosaurs off this island is the worst idea in the long, sad history of bad ideas.
So that's pretty much the plot. We got uh, an abandoned lost kid on the island. We got like Alan Grant caught who. Funny enough, the reason why they got Alan Grant is because well, he wrote the book. When he came to Jurassic Park. Twitch Billy had to correct that was Isla Nublar the first time. This is Isla Sorna, Site B, which is an island that Alan Grant has never been on.
Yeah.
So even though he is facing similar threats, this is unfamiliar territory to him.
And on top of that, I think that's also a little play on the fact that for some casuals out there, they don't realize there's two dinosaur islands. They keep thinking, I keep hearing this complaint about Jurassic Park. How can they keep going back to the same island if they know there's dinosaurs on them? I'm like, okay. So the Kirby's not knowing that there's two dinosaur islands is probably a good reflection on like the general pop culture public that don't really pay. All they know is there's an island with dinosaurs and that's it. So I think the Kirby's being ignorant of that is kind of a nice reflection of that.
And also, it didn't occur to me until rewatching it that oh, so this is how they set up how they're able to open up Jurassic World. Technically, Isla Sorna is the restricted island. No one ever thought to look to see if the dinosaurs are still active on Site A, Isla Nublar, the actual park grounds,
Well,
which
if
of course change hands. Like we get Maserati, but that's its whole situation. We'll cover the next time when we do this episode next time. But we're on Isla Sorna right now. We are still coasting along, so we are going to focus on the cast of this little excursion. It's with as always we start with our main hero, which is Alan Grant, once again played by the great Sam Neill.
and oh my gosh, all right, he does have a little more of an edge, but he also so has that enthusiasm. Like for example, when we first meet him, we got a little kid messing with dinosaurs, and he's still trying to like educate him on dinosaurs about how herbivores wouldn't really fight like that. Because when you're a kid, each big monster lizard versus big monster lizard, you're just gonna crash them together regardless. You're gonna make three horns eat GI Joes. You're gonna make Brachiosaur run over Legos. You're not gonna care what their disposition was like or if what they ate. In your mind, big scary lizard was a big scary lizard. So Dr. Grant is all telling them like, actually those two are herbivores. They wouldn't actually be interested in fighting. So it's funny to see that he's still even no. Ellie tells him like he's three. Let's wait till he's five, but because like it.
That was a fake. That was a fake out though. I'm sure a lot of audiences were pissed to know that. Oh, is that kid his? It's not. No.
But yeah,
I still remember Cassie's a popcorn in bed reaction to seeing that she had that glow in her eyes. She was excited to see Alan and Ellie again as they had a kid. Except it's not their kid. It's someone else. And oh, poor dear's heart broke.
yeah,
I
but yeah.
wonder what her reaction was to Dominion. I had to see that one.
Oh yeah, but oh my gosh, like I said though, he does. He still is known as a dinosaur man. But as Derek had mentioned before, he is still trying to give enthusiasm for the old ways, the stuff that he said they would have been out of a job for, the stuff that Ian said would make them extinct. Because you find out in this lesson, yes, well, he's trying to do a typical Grant study. You got people actively walking out while he's explaining it because he tells Ellie that he stumbled onto new research that indicates that scanning the insides of a raptor skull indicates they had quite the hell of a brain casing and a vocalization, meaning they didn't just make random noises just to make random noises. They're actually making specific vocal patterns. They could actually talk to each other. Not quite human language, mind you, but they are talking in a way that, because if you look at like intelligent animals in the wild, some of them have strong social groups that require vocalizations. With insects, their stuff is all based on chemicals and smells, so that's how they're able to coordinate attacking like ants attacking a mantis. But to get animals to do that. They have to come up with sophisticated vocalizations. I mean, if you look at dolphins and orcas, they will be making chirp that aren't just little squeaks. They're actually telling them, okay, you're gonna go over there and cut them up. Like they're doing stuff like that. So Grant's theory is that the raptors had could actually talk to each other.
So you're telling me that they had the language of tortoise sex?
But yes,
No, I will not. I will not give up on that. That's still the funniest factoid I've ever heard in my life.
thanks.
Thanks a lot, like a game apologist.
Yeah, but anyway, what I love is how he's almost semi manic describing how smart they could have been. Going, oh my god, because he says, yeah, he said even though Hammond made some freaks, those freaks were onto something. So he's going, the theory was true. Like, oh my god, like these guys were smarter than whales and dolphins. They were smarter than even us primates. Like he even says in his Grant speech that raptors were so intelligent and able to coordinate in such a social way that were it not for the dinosaur extinction taking them out, there's a good chance that the dominant species of the planet probably would have been raptor. Which imagine that timeline.
So you don't have to imagine. That was actually one of the original ideas for a Saints Row DLC. The Enter the Dominatrix literally ended with raptors coming in to help save the main heroes.
But
So yes, I can actually see my my own female avatar run along riding on raptors. Yes, you can ride raptors at the end of the climax of that DLC. That's ah, I
yeah,
really love that game. I really should play that sometime this fall.
you could ride raptors in Fortnite. On the event they actually had raptors. They don't have raptors no more, but there was a time they did. So
Bro,
anyway,
I just don't feel about Fortnite like you do. Okay, it's not gonna happen. It's if I want to go, I'll go into it, but it's gonna be my decision. You can't coerce me in
I know,
any
no,
way you
I
want.
know, I know, I know. I mean, this is the way. Yeah, I'm very deliberate with that. This is the way because there was anyway. Anyway, yeah. So, what's
So to go back to Alan Grant, even though he does still have that fascination, he still kind of has that little shaky PTSD. Like when Billy shows up, this oh God, what did he
the
call it?
res the
It's
resonating
it's pretty.
chamber the resonating chamber of
Well,
Velociraptor.
well, yeah, but I was just talking about the machine that he did. It's basically Jurassic Park 3 literally just predicted the 3D printer
No,
to make the resonating chamber. But when Billy blows to the resonating chamber, he hears that sound, and it's like, oh God, my nightmares.
hmm
He even has a nightmare, a scene of Velociraptor when he's like on the plane ride over to the island,
yeah. So
which
yeah,
of course is the black mark of the movie. That's ask anyone about Jurassic Park 3, and they'll always go,
Alan.
Alan. It's that stupid 10-second dream sequence that everybody. That's the only thing everybody takes away from that.
Which is oh my god, like I mean, I'll be honest, I laughed my ass off the first time I saw it because I mean, the fact that they actually articulate the tongue in the puppet, like I think I could actually oh my god, you just type in Allen Raptor and you get a bunch of results just from that. I think I could show this without busting any
No,
problem.
no, 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 no. Please, please, let's not tempt it. Let's not tempt it, bro.
I'm not.
Please,
I'm not even
please
gonna.
don't beg you.
I'm not even gonna show the clip. I'm just gonna show an image. That'll work. Okay, so I'm gonna. Okay, I did images before. Okay, so I'm gonna just do a quick window capture, and yeah, good. It's on the thing. So here it is, guys. Behold this hilarity. Look at it. If you look on the screen right now, Alan, like they articulated the jaw and they made the tongue move so it could say Alan.
God. Uh,
What's funny is they used the model of the raptor they were filming with at the time, but they had to shadow it up so that it can look kind of like the classic raptors because it would make sense for Alan to have a dream about a raptor he hasn't seen yet. But you can still kind of see the quills poking out in the back.
to the point where I even joke, like, I'll just off the clips of watching movies, I make Alan's go like, wait, why the hell did I even think of the Raptors? I didn't see the Raptors have feathers when I went to the island.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that is something.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's I understand what they were going for with that, but you gotta admit though, the execution did kind of make it where it became instead of a oh ha ha funny, it was more of a why is was this here, and to the point where Doug Walker made a running joke out of it.
But you just had, it's not even that funny, but you just had to screen cap it to that loop.
What
Oh
happened?
my god. The joke wasn't even funny when we watched the movie, but you screen cap that in that loop, and it's just the funniest thing to see.
Yeah, but I just find it funny that they went through the effort of detailing. I don't know if that was CG or the puppet, but they actually made it like Alan. Also, going back to things that talk, there's a hilarious scene too in the middle. That I mean, there's no place I'm gonna put this out, so I'll just put it here with Alan, where he's trying to talk to a parrot, trying to tell him, "Jack, is my name Alan? Is my name Alan?" And he says he used to know me, and I just find it funny because as we all know, his theory about dinosaurs and birds, he's kind of talking to a modern dinosaur, and then this bird couldn't be any more interested in him. And there was a deleted scene they cut out that would have been funny with it, where he's explaining his smarter than dolphins and whale stuff, and the bird actually does say his word. He goes bullshit, which I would have loved if they kept that, but that would have undercut the dramatization of what he was saying. So I get why it was cut, but I would have laughed at that part if they kept the parrot going bullshit.
Oh my god. Oh, man. Doc Walker would have had a field day with that. He probably used that for a loop in most of his review of that.
But yes,
Ah,
anyway, but what's funny is that once he does get to see the dinosaurs again, there is a little bit of the old dino lover in him when he's trying to explain. He's like, "Oh my god, I've forgotten," because he kept trying to tell Billy and everyone, "Hey, settle your expectations. You're not going to see anything from this high of a view." But once he actually sees the dinosaurs, there is a little bit of a warmness to him. He's like, "Oh my god, I've forgotten." Like, and they're all moving in herds. Basically, this is Ian's ooh ah moment, but they do it like really fast. This is the shortest, probably the shortest ooh ah moment in any Jurassic series, I think.
there's technically another ooh ah moment, but it's such a hand wave. It's like, hey, I'm here. Okay, bye.
Yeah, like we still can do ooh ah, but yeah, but oh god, but Grant is so great, and once he finds out he's been hoodwinked, boy is he a grumpy camper. Like, and people thought that Indiana Jones was grumpy in Crystal Skull. Well, Grant was understandably grumpy because there was a point
He
where
was kidnapped.
because he was even telling them because he made a very strong statement when people kept asking him questions about Jurassic Park versus what he was really there for, the research, the raptors. And hell, I keep joking with Derek. This is how he probably gets at Comic Cons. When anyone have a question for Dr. Grant? Everyone raises their hands. He goes, "Does anybody have a question not relating to Jurassic Park?" Like 40% of the hands go
Or
down.
or the incident in San Diego, which I was not privy to.
Like goodness, like why would he be there? And they keep telling him, "Listen, you can dig up bones all you want, but we got the real thing right here. You should go see it." And he has to even tell them, "Listen, listen. Everything that's real is actually in the rocks. Those are real scientists that make real discoveries." Like he's pretty much shooting down Wu's establishments by saying what John Hammond and Ingen made at Jurassic Park was genetically engineered theme park monsters. And he even says when they ask him, "Could you go back and study them if you wanted to get the chance to?" He even says, "No force on earth or heaven will get me on that island." Unless it was a couple of
Maybe
checks
something a
in.
little bit of hell.
Yes. Oh my god. But point is, what's funny is how his tune, as people even Eric Kirby notes, saying, "I love your first book better than your second book because you used to like dinosaurs back then." He has to point out roughly, well, back then they didn't even try to
They
eat them.
didn't they didn't try to eat me. But yeah, his statement about like a difference between real dinosaurs and the theme park dress is kind of almost the same talking point for most of the dinosaur nerds when they get all up in arms when they see the way the dinosaurs are portrayed in this movie. Like give it like well we'll get to it when we talk about the dinosaurs later. But needless to say, I think there was that that line of dialogue was put there to kind of instigate like, look, we are trying to make the dinosaurs look more closer to how they were discovered, but at the end, at the very core, these were literally just made for this story. These dinosaurs look real, they look seem wondrous. They're just like here for the visual scope. It's just all the fancy uh uh razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
They're just the razzle dazzle.
Of the three, though, I think this is the one that had the most input from paleontologist Jack Horner because he's the one that insisted that the raptors be given their facelift for this movie when we see them. He's the one that said you have an even bigger fossil, so be an even bigger predator for this movie. And so yeah, I think it's funny how he talks about the difference between, in a funny sort of way, you could argue that the movie was trying to glaze somebody like Jack Horner, the paleontologist, saying in the Rock is where real scientists make real discoveries. All we have here are theme park monsters, like basically saying, almost in a funny way, kind of backhanding the Jurassic series, saying, yeah, you might love how realistic these look, but if you really want to see a real dinosaur, go go check out the museum and see the rocks. But which is kind of funny because in the movies, behind the scenes, Horner couldn't be any more like go see Jurassic Park if you want to see what a stego looks like. Go to Jurassic Park, like yeah, but the way that was written, I think in a way it was kind of backhanding the theatricality of it while saying that the real dinosaurs are always being found in the rocks. And this is debate and discourse that changes even to this day. We've had three iterations of what a Spinosaurus might have been due to complete reconstructions versus what we think, because unfortunately the real Spinosaurus aegypticus skeleton, the longest one in the world, was destroyed during a bombing in World War II. I think it was in Egypt or Israel where it was hit. But point is, we lost it, so we all had to go on was a few teeth and descriptions of how long it was. So, but that line is kind of funny. How Dr. Grant is taking a firm line for paleontology, saying how listen, I'm still relevant because even Ellie tells him you're the best of this, and he still says, "Yeah, I'm the last of my breed."
So yeah, to go back to Alan, during even when he's trying to get them off the island, he still has moments where he has to take a moment to kind of like investigate and look around. Like especially when he goes to, like the bird cage at Houses Paradise, he's kind of having to take in like, okay, so what is this place you're in? What is this? It's almost kind of like back guano. Wait, guano for flying creatures. Oh no, this is actually a bird cage.
Great
Which means there's
revelation.
gonna be yeah, it's one of the best scenes, and one of the scenes that was in the original novel.
Yeah, and when he gets understandably upset, you can't blame him. Like he actually decks Mr. Kirby when he finds out the truth about why he was brought on this island, and he even is
Which is
realistic.
which is, which is kind of funny in hindsight. It's basically like having a fist fight with an accountant essentially,
Mm-hmm.
especially because it's his Kirby's wife even states that like of all the people like in that whole family stead, like Paul's like kind of like a harmless little like he's a harmless little caterpillar in comparison.
Yeah, and yeah. So yeah, you're right. He does have a little bit of edge, but I think that's why Sam Neill says because he gets to play with so much more material. And what's funny is even though he's horrified by some of the stuff he sees with dinosaurs, he still is amazed by stuff like when he sees the raptor start to vocalize, he realizes, oh man, he's calling for help, but not in a way of like, oh shit, he's calling for help, but more like, son of a bitch, they're actually
Oh,
talking. And then,
he also does. It is kind of funny. He does have to end up being like a guardian angel to a kid again, but to be fair, the kid actually saved his ass this time instead of the other way around.
and on top of that, the kid's rather street smarts, and it's funny to see he's kind of like Tim from the novel versus how Tim was in the actual film. But and he's still a lot of fun to do because he still has his moments of whimsy, like when they see that little flyby of the hope and dreams and wonders, and he does have a great when his associate seemingly turned tail, he snapped at him, but when he seemingly sacrificed himself, he decided to say how he had an interesting theory about two types of people, the astronauts and the astronomers. And I loved his description of that scene about saying how astronomers get to see everything from a control room, they get to see up the stars, but make all these great theories. But the astronauts are
They
the one.
never get to go. They never get to go up like the astronauts do.
And he says that Billy and the people who want to see the dinosaurs are more in the astronauts' perspective. They want to be able to make the discovery. Sarah Harding is definitely an astronaut type because she was the one that was willing to go on Sorna, like as Hammond said. She couldn't be restrained. I bet you. I wonder if the Kirbys at one. I bet you if they did try to contact Ian, he would probably tell them, "Yeah, your kid's probably gone. My condolences, and I'm not going back there."
Eh, well, to be fair, I think they realized that he'd probably not fit either, considering that even their kid just points that like I don't know, it's like it's just chaos. Everything's chaos to him. This guy was kind of high on himself.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think yeah. Plus, they figured Alan Grant still had his credibility in his books, whereas Ian's name was put through the mud by Ludlow and Injun when he tried to tell the truth about what happened. So maybe the Kirbys aren't even aware of Malcolm's involvement. Maybe.
But so I think it's time we could switch it up. We definitely kind of covered Alan for a good bit. But we might come back again with him when we talk about like Billy. But I feel like Jonesy is just itching to talk about this character. This he well, I think he's more itching to talk about the his wife rather, but he definitely loves the actor.
Oh no, I love Mr. Kirby. In fact, this is William H Macy as Paul Kirby, and again, like the guy from Fargo. Like I can make this joke. If I had a nickel for every time a guy from Fargo appeared in a Jurassic movie, I'd have two nickels. But
Which
it's
isn't a lot, but it's rare to happen 2 times.
the other one being Peter Stormare, and I'm pretty sure more have appeared since then. But at this point in the trilogy, yeah, and he is the last guy you would expect to be on an island. We've been expecting marble men like Roland Tembo or even like Dieter Stark type guys. In fact, Kathy Kennedy was proud of this idea, saying how we're going back to civilians being on the island, not dinosaur documentarians, not hunters, not trackers. We're getting just honest to goodness. What would you do if you were in that park? In fact, a lot of us probably have a dad or uncle or cousin who's like Paul Kirby, so they can understand that. Also, Kirby is the embodiment of the fake it till you make it thing because he had to act big, play big. But even as he's playing big about how, oh yeah, we've been on every expedition, there's a few cracks where you're realizing, hold up. Like when they were invited to dinner, this is an Enterprise guy. He takes him to a nice little bar in the watering hole in the wall type bar.
Like this, like even I kind of realized that when we were watching this. Like, so I don't remember. I thought I kind of remembered wrong, but I assumed he kind of took him to a nicer place. But this is kind of like a bar dive almost. So that's you think like, the way they kind of talk about like all the. I guess they were kind of right enough. Like let's kind of like talk on even playing field here. Let's talk like let's talk on even level playing field or something,
Yeah,
neutral ground.
and what I love is though is
But
that,
like these, there's at least some like up fancier places there's like in neutral ground territory still.
but yeah, what I love about Mr. Kirby is that Paul, again, he gives off this air of confidence that's fake confidence. So you can try to convince him, because he even tells you, "I'll make it worth your while." And after Alan had that hard time getting funding, um, being offered all the zeros on the check, I still, I kind of laugh at Sam Neill's face when he goes, "I can write any number on this check, so what's it gonna be?" Well, I keep thinking, now that you mention it. So when they
Well,
find out,
but yeah, so to kind of describe how like so bottom of the food chain Paul is, so they're so when they go to like one of the facilities that's lost on Isla Sorna, basically the actual factory ground. We actually see the factory ground. We often hear about it in the second movie, but we never actually see the factory floor, as they say. But this is actually the place where they actually make the dinosaurs. This is where you make dinosaurs. This is how you play God.
and
But so there's like a snack bar machine, like ancient almost, and Paul's about to try to buy through it like any normal person would do. And then Billy decides to just like typical action hero, just kind of chuck kicks the one next to it, like with breaking the glass open. And Paul decides like, okay, it gets it kind of easy. He just gives like the weakest shin kick type of a kick to
he
the
probably
machine.
hurt
It just
himself.
kind of like bounced. Yeah, he did hurt himself. He just kind of limped off. It's like, okay, never do that again. Never do that again.
And,
Ow, ow, ow.
and even his wife mentions how, if Eric had gone to live with him instead of her, and they're split, because once again that big D word, D isn't for dinosaur in Jurassic Park, it's for divorce.
It's so weird. It keeps popping up. I wonder. I don't understand why people were complaining about it in Jurassic World. And it's literally been like a big mainstay in the series so far.
Yeah, So she mentions how Eric probably would have been safer staying with Paul instead of going with her and her exaberrant boyfriend Ben Hildebrand. And what's funny is as the movie goes on, he starts to get initiative. That's the part where he says, "We got to go and make a fire." He starts talking. He's not having to fake it no more. It's funny when he's trying to, but how Billy and Alan catch him when they mention how we did Galapagos, we did K2, which is a big mountain, and he mentions when you went climbing K2, did you base camp at 2,000 or 30,000 feet? And to try to sound bigger, he goes 30,000 feet. We were close to the top, and he goes, "No, you guys are actually 1,000 feet above it." And
Oh,
he tries to explain it, and he mentions how no Kirby Enterprises don't exist. It's actually Kirby Paint and Tile Plus. He's just a hardware store guy, which he does. My God, he's Ned Flanders. Can you see it?
oh my God! So they, wow. Oh, it's perfect casting. I can't believe that. Wow.
Like I'm, like, oh my God, like he's.
I have to wonder if like sometime at some fan convention, if dude, if he ever appears at any of your conventions, for love of God, at any Q&A, he has to like, can you like do a high dilly dull neighbor like Ned
Oakley dokley.
Flanders?
But what's funny, he actually has appeared on The Simpsons as himself. I remember when he mentions, "Hi, I'm William H Macy," in a musical number, and he shows up, "I'm William H Macy, the guy who got shoved into the wood chipper in Fargo," and he smiles. So, what point
Wow.
is, what like I said though, is that he's stumbling around, but like I said, the more he's surviving shit, and the more he's like getting closer to finding his son, he starts to build an initiative. Where you go like, oh my God, you see a every man's strength coming out of him. There's a point where he's again describing a plan, like he actually has a plan this time while describing it, and Amanda Kirby's just giving him this look of like, my God, who are you? And what have you done with Paul?
And to the point where he actually gets a big hero moment to distract the new big bad, the Spinosaurus, to let everyone else escape from the boat.
And they even
And it essentially does eight, the Chief Brody moment, sans the gun.
mm-hmm.
So he kind of should have thought of that one, but I don't know. I guess Joe Johnson was trying to say like, no, no, Steven, I promise, I'm not trying to do your Jaws moment here. Look, he doesn't have a gun on him.
But yes, he is so likable, and when you see all the behind the scenes documentaries, he is such a delight in them. I remember he brought up an anecdote, which we'll talk about when we get there. When they're doing the plane scene, and he kept noticing his co-star Tay Leone constantly having her chest up in frame for the camera, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she just had a baby. He says, "Look, I only have a few of these for. I only have these for a few more years. These are mine for a few more years. So I'm gonna give them all they got, basically." The fact that you remember such a
But yeah,
story.
it's funny also considering the fact that when William H Macy signed on, he was gonna be like a completely different character, like some kind of tycoon kind of persona. And so when they kind of changed the script over, you actually, if you actually look up some press chuck, you'd see he was actually kind of like actively upset. It's like, oh, I just had this like great different project I was gonna be on, but you're never gonna see that, and it's like I had to do something different here. But nowadays he's chill. He'll if you ask him about Jurassic Park 3, he's gonna be like, oh my God, I loved working on Jurassic Park 3. That was like one of the most fun shooting days I've ever had in my working history.
And what's funny too is that they both admitted that had they known. Oh, look at that! There's like a little Kirby Enterprise card. Oh,
Wow, let's look showing Mr. Show Off, Lucky.
it's inside this visual history book. Well, yeah, but Paul Robbie was actually right was a tycoon, and then they changed it. Let me see where he mentioned that.
I
Saying
know it's a Clayton Fiordi video,
oh,
so
okay, so it says this. The average sequence was kept. We talk about the writers, Midnight Beat Daylight. Never met Spielberg, only spoke to Kennedy and Johnson on the phone, receiving instructions on what elements of previous drafts to keep, which included the plane crash, the spinal fight, plus the laboratory compound. The aviary was kept as per Johnson's concerns. The barge scenes were also retained, although this new draft the adults, not Miles, will ultimately defeat the creature. While certain set pieces set to say character changes were fair game. Paul Robbie was named Paul Kirby, and Miles became Eric. Susan was reworked to become Robbie's ex-wife Amanda, and Paul's role was completely rethought. While he fools Grant into thinking he's a tycoon, in reality he runs a small business, Kirby Paint and Tile Plus, based on Oklahoma shopping mall. Memories of how this evolved was a little foggy, Miss Johnson. I don't remember why Robbie became Kirby, unless it's simple as Kirby Paint and Tile Plus has a nice ring to it. So, the scene is fought for Eric Pistolling with Amanda's boyfriend Ben Hildebrand. The estranged parents, Paul and Amanda, seek out Grant on a dig with Billy Brenham on this draft. Paul lures Grant into hosting an aerial tour, promising to make a financial contribution. So the idea of funding a substation was dropped. Secretly, Paul's plan to land the island and persuade Grant to track down Eric, who were brought with mercenaries. Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, like I said, he actually was a legit tycoon in the first draft. And oh yeah, we'll get to this when I get to her later. So at the Paul at the time Payne and Taylor were writing, William H Macy was the forerunner to play Paul Kirby. His acting style giving him a clear roadmap for constructing the character. We traded a little bit on his persona, not his actor persona, but how he was widely known, like who he played in Fargo. So they Cohen's Crime Brothers crime yard saw Macy play a sad sack used car salesman who bungles a plot to kidnap his wife. The performance winning huge acclaim. So let me see.
Hi, Ian.
Oh hi Ian, nice of you to join us. But yeah, you gotta admit though, even though this is the smallest human cast so far since the first movie, because let's face it, the Lost World had a lot of bodies for a lot of teeth. This one was at least scaled back enough, and everyone in it's a strong member. And William H Macy is he's such a dad that in a funny way, I would argue that Jurassic Park 3 makes for a great Father's Day movie.
I could kind of see that.
But
But enough of that. How about I know you want to just talk about the mom, the Amanda Kirby. It's funny enough. I honestly thought we were gonna be like having a Willie Scott thing like from Temple of Doom, where it's just her most of her dialogue is just her screaming. But to be fair, most of her screaming actually has a actual point of reference. She's not just reacting like every 10 seconds, like seeing every aspect of the wilds.
well, come on, her ex lover popped out of the trees much more thinner than she remembered, and half his size.
Oh yeah, actually, so it's the moment. I actually think that Jurassic Park 3 might actually be the most uh, violent and gruesome of the Jurassic movies. To where you actually see more blood, you seeing. I honestly think you see more. You actually see the bodies in this one, like with the Ben Hildebrand here.
I bet
It's that I have no idea how Kid Me didn't get scarred for seeing that.
yeah, I'll be honest. As a kid, this was my first Jurassic theater in a movie theater. I did kind of jump like 3 feet out of my seat seeing that skeleton pop at the camera.
But yeah,
And
you actually
plus,
see a lot more blood. You see dinosaurs having blood on them. It's it is it made me wonder like how people didn't like Jurassic Park 3 as much as the original ones, and I thought, well, clearly it didn't have as big a body count. But then I started to count legitimately, and I realized, wait, the first movie only had like 4 deaths, and this one it has the two guys that were in the paragliding boat that has Ben Hildebrand. It has like
the
most of the
mercenaries.
mercenaries that the Kirby hires. Like, oh my God, there's actually like at least like 5 to 6 people that die in this movie.
And on top of that, I still think the highest body count goes to the Lost World at this point because of like all the hunters in the long grass scene, the crew of the Venture, whatever else happened in San Diego.
Oh, don't even get it started on World. The poor
Ooh.
security staff, a lot of the park goers themselves. They, to be fair, most of them just got mostly maimed, but a notable bunch of them definitely got eaten.
Yeah, but like I
Yeah,
said,
Ian's definitely agreeing with this. The skeleton was scary as hell. Not to mention the blood on the plane windows.
hell, when the Spinosaurus
Yeah,
chomps on a guy, you see bits of flesh dangling as he roars, and
by a very great practical effect again, once again. But
but
yeah, let's cool ourselves down and like enjoy Amanda Kirby, played by Taya Leone.
Oh my God, yeah,
It,
she
that's,
she had
Taya
done
Leone,
she
yeah.
had done Bad Boys with Michael Bay prior, and had done Deep Impact, which is where they picked her for this movie, where she's really good in that one as an intrepid reporter with daddy issues who has to find out that, oh God, the government's keeping something secret. She thinks it's an affair. Like, what's this deal with with Ellie? And she finds out that it stands for extinction level event, and she finds out, oh crap, there's a meteorite heading toward the Earth. So it's funny, that movie came out the same year as Armageddon, and while Deep Impact was the more scientifically accurate film, Armageddon is Michael Bay being Michael Bay, so of course that's the an asteroid film everybody remembers.
I also argue it's the only one they think of because it's Bruce Willis and Aerosmith. It's basically the trifecta. It's the Michael Bay, Bruce Willis, and Aerosmith.
So
That's those three are just pretty much gonna guarantee success no matter what you're gonna
don't
make.
forget Ben Affleck playing with animal crackers on Liv Tyler's belly button.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, but point
Anyways,
anyway. But point is though, she is big and good, and what's funny is that it could have been easy to play Mrs. Kirby as super inept and annoying, but and some people might actually find her that way in the final product, but she actually does have moments to step up and actually be better because like again when she does scream, she does have reasons to. Like for one, she falls for a raptor playing possum in a tank, and it almost bites her face off. But at the same
she's
time,
she's, she's literally stuck in basically like a flying soup can as the Spinosaurus is trying to dig in and chomp them all.
she also, but she does have like when they get cornered by the raptor and the raptor decides to, try to climb over the locked gate they're in to try to get to the opening. She takes that initiative at that point to say push, which is almost a very Ellie moment, like when Ellie pushed back the raptor that jumped her in the shed. But
So yeah, she's definitely not Willie Scott levels. That I honestly think she pretty much is almost like Ellie Sadler levels.
but yeah,
Really.
although Ellie has the better screen between the two, I'll say that right now. But what I find funny though is that, but she does have very regular reactions. And I made a joke to Derica when Paul walks in on her, changing clothes from the crash. I said, "Oh, probably the only TNA you're ever going to see in this entire franchise, like ever."
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's some scenes where Chris Pratt is definitely showing off some skin.
Yeah, but oh my god, but yeah, like I said though, she also she looks, even though she's covered in scratches and blood, I think she looks adorable, but also strong. And I confess to him, like to Derek, that I might have based one of my character's mother designs off of Mrs. Kirby subconsciously, because I was looking at her and I'm going, because I was going for Princess Diana, and I look at Tia Leone as Kirby and I go, I think you could see Cindy's mom in that.
So basically, you made the butterfly moth superhero and based on Taya Leone and Princess Diana.
Yeah, and oh my god, but like I said though, what's funny is she does get her big standout moment when they get cornered by raptors, and she actually has a chance to like make things right with them. And according to Taya, there's not much acting when it comes to acting with the animatronics, because even the crew will remind them, be careful with these things. These are powerful machines. These could kill you.
Yeah, tell that to the poor bull T Rex. But we'll talk about that approach. That's all we can probably talk about that soon. But
Oh my god! But
as
yeah,
she points out, it's easy to act with the animatronics, but it's entirely different to you act like a goofball running,
when
acting with nothing
yeah,
and pretending that there's something there.
she said that there's hilarious footage of us just running through these fields, acting like we're being chased, and you just gotta say, okay, there's a raptor here, and just imagine that, yeah, and it does look kind of funny without the dinosaurs.
I think it kind of looks a little bit more funnier with the dinosaurs, considering the fact that they're. I'm just gonna say it. I think the herbivores in that movie got way too over. They essentially got like action figure colors. They look like they're colored by the people that got has the rights to the toys.
Okay, so yeah, there were a lot of toys.
It basically looks like the chaos effects or like whatever the Jurassic World equivalent was the
Yeah, I got you.
where there's like spin-off toys
But
that
yeah,
they do.
yeah. But yeah, like I said though, is that she does work well with the comedy, and she does have a great line. I mean, she really plays well with William H Macy. Her chemistry just works out so well to the point where you kind of root for the Kirby's. And like I said, though, while she does get that hilarious scene of getting the skeleton on her face, she also has a nice emotional moment where she's realizing that, oh crap, it's been 8 weeks. My boy was on this island with this guy supposed to protect him. That guy is dead. That means that my boy is all alone. So it's really great acting on her from that part when she's like breaking down in front of Paul for that. But like I said,
And who honestly knew that patching up a discordant relationship, all it needs is just a restricted dinosaur island.
yeah,
So
yeah. So like,
that's an approved therapy there, ladies and gentlemen.
but yeah, like I said, during the course of the movie, you see them grow closer to the point where you kind of get a nice awe moment of seeing the family together several times. Like when they first reunite after hearing the famous Kirby Paint and Tile Plus on Westgate chime on the phone. Uh, yeah, like I said,
I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's like a specific thing. I think that's the kind of chime you hear like any cell phone at that time having.
no, but that
It
was
was either that or it
that
was either that chime or the other chime.
that
This the me 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 me
that was I
me.
think that was specifically made for this movie. Which that has a funny reveal when we talk about the dinosaurs, but like I said though, throughout the course of the movie, you kind of start to feel for the family dynamic, and they needed an extra reel as an in between scenes between the climax and then well, quote unquote climax and then the end. But so this is a great moment where William H Macy as Paul is describing how they went on a fishing trip and almost sank the tow truck guy in, and they talk about how they miss doing stuff together as a family, and just the way uh, Trevor Morgan as Eric and Tay Leone look, it's just like you start to buy them as a family unit. Plus, I gotta say, when we get to Eric, which he's next anyway, he does look a lot like both William H Macy and Tay Leone.
He definitely does.
Like it's in the eyes for sure. But yeah, like I said, and she does get some really good zingers in here. Like one of the funniest lines ever is when, well, is involving her using a megaphone on an island full of carnivores. Where even Grant is saying that is a very bad idea, and Paul being the timid husband, Amanda, that's a Dr. Grant says that's a bad idea. No, what's a bad idea? To the point where it ticks off whatever's on the island, and she does have a great moment too with you know, after seeing something where they say that the creatures might be going for a new nesting ground, she says, "I dare him to nest in Enid, Oklahoma." Like she says, "Well, like nest her on my turf, see what happens." Basically,
She she's definitely one of the understatements. I think I've kind of forgot how she played in the Lego Jurassic World video game. I will have to try to revisit that
I think she's a screamer in that one
sometime.
too.
Oh yeah, it's like a power where it's like it's able to break glass or something.
Yeah, like
I
her and
think that's
Lex. Lex could do that too.
yeah.
Plus, I think I also say of the Jurassic ladies, I think Mrs. Kirby has some of the more better styles out there. Only rivaled by her follow up in the World Series.
Hmm.
Anyway, since we
Which
mentioned
well,
her, oh, yeah.
which I definitely know you're gonna gush about.
Oh god, yeah. When we get
I think you're gonna gush harder in the Fallen Kingdom stuff. I think you were like say "Eh, she's cute in Jurassic World, but when Fallen Kingdom have us like, oh man, I feel like you just drop to your knees to say like, are you single? Can you be?
I think you noticed, yeah, on a couple of, cause we watched the World Series a couple of times. Every time we get to Fallen Kingdom, I keep pointing out how well Bryce Dallas Howard looking at, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves. So, we mentioned here Trevor Morgan as Eric Kirby. He's again street smart kid. He plays him in a way that doesn't feel grating or smart alecky. In fact, they didn't make him like a John Connor and T2 ripoff. He does more come off like Tim does in the novel.
So we actually he's actually one of the characters he opened up the movie with, who is taking the paragliding excursion to at least hopefully get like coastal sites of some of the dinosaurs. I guess the reason why they set up the paragliding thing is that carnivores usually inhabits the inner sanctum of the island, whereas herbivores usually tend to be on the outskirts. obviously it's not always true. I mean, goodness knows. We opened the second movie with the scavenger carnivores mauling a little girl, and as the guys in the boat learned, they kind of got to a big one who decided like, "Hey, I could hunt on the waters too." But then the next time we actually meet him, well, after the video cameras uh, that the Kirby's find, which by the way, no, the camera was not powered through a D battery. The Mr. Udetsky literally hotwired the to have the batteries power the camera to at least run succinct to it a little bit. It's not there's no cameras that run on D batteries. Literally, it's not. It's whatever. But when we actually see Eric, literally, he actually does a huge, massive save for Alan Grant to rescue him from the raptors by using uh, tear gas, essentially.
It's not so funny.
The,
Ian is noting how always thought Trevor Morgan was Haley Joel Osment. Sixth Sense kid.
yeah, I mean, it was around the time. It was about the age to be that a little bit.
I think he already worked with Steven
God,
on AI at that point, though.
oh God, imagine imagine your sister seeing that movie in that timeline. Look, bro, it's Sora from the Kingdom Hearts.
She's
It's
still
Alan Grant.
she's in Jurassic Park 3 with Osment. Yeah. Oh, remember, I heard Haley Joel Osment was this. It was either him or Jake Lloyd that was in the running for Anakin in episode 1.
But
Who?
yeah, it's essentially Eric Kirby was kind of like a young Robinson Crusoe, essentially.
In fact, it kind of makes you wish you kind of saw what he went through on the island. I'm pretty sure some Machinima fan will find a way to use Unreal or Dreamer engines to like make Eric's chronicles of what did he go through from his POV, like a found footage thing.
That would be amazing, especially considering the fact that there's enough to do that. Like 8 weeks is a long time to do. Dude, that would be like fucking Jurassic Park meets Hatchet. You remember
Oh, I
like
remember that
those
book.
books from
Yeah.
the books from school? Oh my god. Dude, Universal, if you're hearing this, you're trying to snipe us for to copyright us. Dude, just take the idea. Jurassic Park meets Hatchet with Eric Kirby. Go ahead. You have our rights to do that.
There is a book that described his chronicles before, like two books I think that were like young adult novels, like little those little flat books you get at like book fairs and stuff that had what Eric went through on the island. I don't know if they mentioned the T-Rex P incident,
You don't want to know. Uh, Long story short, you're totally right about not moving, Dr. Grant.
but yeah. So what's funny is that he does survive. Like I how even Grant explains how I'm amazed you survived 8 weeks this long on your own, and there's a point where Eric has a sad look
It,
of that's all it's been. Like
it's all it's been.
I'm sure it's felt like forever for him to even saw another human on the island after losing Ben. And
God, that must be so fucked up for him.
and then
But
oh
he's still able to keep a level head to survive that, and especially to be ballsy enough to like go in with tear gas on velociraptors of all things. Like, how do you don't sneak up on velociraptors
then again he did
unless
have
you're a
that raptor
gymnast,
claw.
unless you're a gymnast apparently.
But oh my gosh. So it's funny is he I love that bit where him hearing the ringtone is enough for him to say I find mom and dad, and then later when they go to the pteranodon enclosure is a great part where Amanda's still really protective and says, I'm going to be gone for just a few minutes. I'll be right here. And he says, I've been gone for like 8 weeks. I think I can manage the next few minutes.
Which is kind of a little bit of a harsh thing to say to this mom, but I think given the circumstances there, it's oddly enough it's reassuring
and
in some demented way.
and he's more on the side of like, the astronomers and astronaut versus astronaut theory, where he's on the side of like, yeah, these things tried to kill me, but it's still cool to see them.
Yeah, at least in the only scene where you get the herbivores again, is to say, "Hey, here's the Whimsy again." Okay, it's 5, 6, 7, 10. Okay, that's enough time. Let's switch to the next scene now.
But yeah, like I said, and I love how he does look up at Alan Grant with reverence, like Tim does too. And he goes, "Oh my God, you're Alan Grant," type thing. And like I said, imagine if they went with the other guy and he opens the book and goes, "Oh God, you're Ian Malcolm. What the hell were you talking about in your book?"
Oh, haha, very funny.
Like chaos.
I'm sure he
This.
found. I'm sure he found Dieter somewhere. Oh my god. Well, that's the thing. So, most of the basically Jurassic Park 3 takes place on the other side of the island, which we don't see in the first one. It's very evident in the jungle environment, where the part of the island of Isla Sorna we saw in the second one had uh Eureka California trees, the redwoods, which are very thick and all that. Whereas here it's kind of a little bit more tropical. So I think I mean it's almost kind of like the island kind of has like a moss grows more on this side of the stone kind of ecosystem, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes any sense.
Yeah, but that'd be so funny if he couldn't find any weapons. So I'm pretty sure, like, unless Engine was really good at cleaning up their hunters after they left the island.
Oof, yikes.
Like, yep, I found another one. Here's his another one.
Oh yeah. Oh, another point that I made is that the way he maybe actually scavenged some leftover stuff from when Engine came in to try to do some do, pick up some dinosaurs because like after Vince Vaughn, Nick Owens did kind of sabotage all their stuff. Most of the equipment's kind of junked, and now that kind of left in the wayside. And obviously, Roland Temple would probably give the idea of like carry only what you need.
And I'm pretty sure. I wonder, like, if they sent anybody for remain recovery. Like, I'm pretty sure Roland would probably hope that. No, I think he would have left RJ's remains on the island, saying, "Well, he belongs to the island now." Probably that's probably what that hunter belief is. So, odd
It
tangent.
I think we need definitely gave the message of I believe I've traveled enough with the company of death. It's like, yep, I'm done with this island. I'm going home. It's like, screw you guys. I'm going home.
Yeah. So,
Going home.
and also going back to them finding the bodies, Paul Stewart played David saying, "I think I found Vincent," in that deleted Alien 3 scene.
Oof.
When they're running through the tunnels and they're trying to say, "What part is it in?" and he sees just a smear on the wall and he goes, "I think I found Vincent." So anyway, um, but like I said, Trevor Morgan does a great job playing him. Like, he's for us, the kids. Like, we imagine ourselves as Kirby. And man, does he get a hell of a stunt when he gets picked up by a pteranodon and put into a nest of pecking babies.
Which actually, him being picked up by a pteranodon, that was actually one of the few Jurassic Park 3 toys I had. Along with the bull and the Spinosaurus, which were not really size to size to those action figures. They were kind of more like shrunken down dinosaur action figures with the roar sounds and damage bits and all that.
But they were cool because they went rawr. I
Yeah,
remember the Spinosaurus went wow like that.
which is funny considering the fact that the actual roar he does in the movie is a little bit more
Powerful.
has more gravitas, powerful gravitas.
Yeah, but anyway,
Oh,
that
but the T Rex is 1-to-1. There was no. I think if there's one roar they didn't want to fuck up, it was a T Rex.
although yeah, you can tell that moment with the Pteranodon and Eric is influential because on the thumbnail, my persona is being taken away by the pterodactyl right there.
Don't worry, you got down safe and sound. We're not having that incident again.
Anyway, I want to
But
say though that I'm gonna dub that pterodactyl Kimberly just for my amusement. Anyway,
hmm,
oh, so speaking, since we talked about him, he called our I gotta. He has one of those names that you have to look up in front of you so you can say it. I'm gonna get it really
it's
quick.
Billy. We're just talking about Billy here.
I know, but he was portrayed by. Come on, give it to me. Alessandro Nivola. But
Yeah,
yeah,
for the longest time, I always saw him more as like, okay, let's get James Franco, but like a Sam's Club Diet Cola version of him.
ouch. but
I don't see him in other things, so it's like it's not a knock on him. It still delivers the taste, but it's just
that's funny.
you know
I always thought he looked kind of like Paul Walker too.
which I actually did kind of remember and say like, yeah, he kind of does. Dude, imagine Paul Walker having to deal with the Jurassic Park series.
Oh,
No,
but
yeah, you first don't get that idea. Don't stay away. Stay. Oh my god. Actually, you know what?
Vin
It's
Diesel's
probably
gonna
too
be
late.
messing with raptors at this point.
I, I did hear that they actually want to have. They didn't confirm it, but they have been kind of hinting that there is a possibility that the Jurassic Park World series might actually be coinciding with the Fast and Furious movies, which
Oh,
I hope to God that's not true.
that means
That
that
would be
that
stupid.
means that Dwayne Johnson exists somewhere in this universe. That means that Dwayne Johnson as Hobbs can kick the ass of a raptor and say "knock knock, mofo." And you know,
No, please,
and,
please, Universal, just no.
and I'll keep Dwayne Johnson as far away from this as possible. He's already killed one universe we loved. Sorry,
Ouch.
Black Adam.
But not
Let's
untrue.
talk. Anyway, but point is though, Alessandro Nivola as Billy is that enthusiastic guy where, yes, he admires Alan and he admires the dinosaurs. He's just as into it as he is. But again, when he has a chance to see these dinosaurs, in fact, when they go fly to the island, well, Grant's all, oh my god, I've forgotten. You see that Billy is looking like a kid in a candy store seeing every dinosaur. If you noticed.
The only reason Billy's along is because, as Alan points, like, to be honest, you got me involved in this. I am not going to be left alone with these people.
And on top of that, because he's the one that said, "We'd love to join you for dinner, Mr. Kirby," because he knows they need money. Because even when he says, "How did the site do?" and he says, "It's not too late to change your major," so he's the one that got into the sculpting of the resonating chamber. Even Alan tells him this is a brilliant idea, but I'm sad to say it's too late. Like in a pre-Jurassic world, that kind of discovery would have made ripples for the scientific community. Pardon me, the scientific community, but um, because dinosaurs now exist, who's going to care about bones when you can just hear what an actual raptor sounds like on Sorna? So,
Except for the fact that there are no velociraptors like that. At best, they're probably like Utah Raptors, but
yes,
they're definitely not digging up in Utah.
they're Montana. So, but what happens is that after they go through survival mode, he's the one that gets the idea to like okay, he's taking pictures of everything, and he's the one that has the fun theorizing that fans did when they first saw the logo. Like, what do you think it could be? Suchomimus. It's not like one. It's like no. I think it's bigger. It's like a
A
bear.
Baryonyx, not with that sail.
Yeah, but we'll get to him when we talk about him in great detail. But I love Billy complaining how the engine has a list. He goes, I don't remember that being on the engine's list. That's because it wasn't on their list. So it makes you wonder what else they were up to. Which fans have been mining that line for years ever since then. Like, look at any Clayton Fioriti video.
Ian has funny thing to note. I think some other company got the rights to the molds for JP3 line because I saw a pack of non-JP/World toys at Sam's Club. I swear to God, it was the same
Well,
T-Rex.
yeah, Hasbro did used to own the molds, but they probably let him go.
Yeah,
But anyway, yeah.
I,
So,
I'm still not gonna get over how they like ruined Blue for me.
oh, the Jurassic
Like,
World
it's like I
line.
would, I would, like I wouldn't have able to tell that it was blue without the little tagline understanding. It's like, oh yeah, this is totally blue. It's like, where's the silver in her color coat?
But yeah,
Why does she look more green? I can see a little streak that's supposed to be like her signature, but it's more indigo blue than like a nice royal one. Where's my royal blue?
but yeah, Billy, he is really into this, and of course, when they run across the raptor nest, and he says, "I'm photographing the nest," he gets a little shifty, and it gets to a funny point where when they after barely survive another encounter, he mentions he has a lucky bag with a strap because he was based.
Of course, because everyone in this franchise apparently has a lucky bag. Sarah Harding has a lucky bag, and this one's got a lucky bag. Let's be fair. This lucky bag is a little bit more has more of a MacGuffin label than Sarah's did. That one was kind of like a what's the term? It's in Star Trek. Something gun.
Chekhov's gun,
Um, Chekhov's
and
gun.
that's
Yeah, that it had more of a check.
and that's Uncle Vanya. I think that's oh crap, who wrote that play? But it's called Chekhov's gun, yeah. And so yeah, like I said, yeah, because he said if you show that lucky pack, he'll show up later, and that's kind of a Chekhov's gun here too. It becomes more MacGuffin-y. But yeah, he mentioned how he was base diving near the cliffs of New Zealand, and almost wind draft took him to the wall. And he says he got held by one strap, so that strap does give away when he runs away during the raptor chase, and Alan picks it up. So I love how he gets very like, give me the
Hey,
bag.
oh hey, you got my bag.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could have been a little bit more sly about us. If I was him, I would have probably like just played it cool and just had let him keep the bag for a bit, and then like after another harrowing thing, I'd probably try to rescue him and also like grab the bag at that point.
But yeah, but I love how when he gets found out, Alan is beyond pissed when he finds that he stole raptor eggs, and he even mentions it was an impulse decision to like fund the dig.
I did it with the best of intentions.
Oh God.
Oh, that line is like I feel like my lips puckered up back at that. It's like, oh no, he did not use that.
Well, we all know what the last time we had best intentions. Best intentions happened in Trinity, New Mexico, 1945, almost 80 years ago, by a guy named Robert, who wanted to
Oof.
solve the things and ended up opening up a nightmare where I was even quoting to as that line was going. I quoted to Derica. Albert, remember those calculations I told you that if we were to press that button, we would have destroyed the world? Oh, yes, what of it? I believe we did.
Oof.
Oppenheimer, great one. But point is, though, actually funny because Oppenheimer was on Nedry's desktop, that picture. So, the point is, yeah, him saying the best intentions, you're like, oof. Well, hell, even Hammond making the island was his best intention. I wanted to make something that wasn't an illusion. And of course, that we get the most sharpest line of like, you're no better than the people who built this place. I'm like, ouch, babe, very
Ouch.
ouch. Hell, like I love how after that point on, the camera work makes Billy look like he has like a second head or whatever. The way that Alan looks at him, like if anything, they treat him worse like if he was Mr. Ludlow or Burke from Aliens. And while Billy did make a stupid decision, he's not on that level. In fact, he does get to make up for it with a harrowing scene involving the pteranodons, which we'll get into later. I'll save it when we get to talk to him directly. But Billy is memorable. He's also one.
Probably to the point. It's funny considering the fact that at one point he was going to be actually one of the sad, likable characters that would meet an untimely demise.
Actually, if it turns out he in the script, Billy Hume dies, but I think Alessandro was able to convince Joe Johnston, come on, man, can I at least make it out of this? And he was so moved by his performances throughout the dailies, he figured, you know what? Yeah, basically, he Poe Dameroned himself. Because as we know, Oscar Isaacs was supposed to die in Force Awakens, and he even said, come on, man, I've already done 3 movies in a row where I die. Can I at least live in this one?
But even I had to go like, oh no, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit,
You would have been like Jack the Parrot. Bullshit!
bullshit.
Yeah,
I
so
mean, I'm not like, gonna say like, dude should be dead right now. Like, toss him back out the plane. But I feel like it should have been like a good. That was pretty much a good way for him to go out in the movie. Like,
yeah.
I'm just saying, it's like, let's just be fair here. If he gets a chance to get out of it, it's like check to see which half of any car that didn't get eaten. I'm sure that one would be like salvageable.
So here we got Michael Jeter as Mr. Udesky, one of the other poor hapless fools that was brought in by Mr. Kirby's thing, who brought along with
or
him 2 other
or
mercs.
as I I always come to see him every time he shows up is the asshole clown from Airbud.
I always, okay, this shows my age and what I grew up with, but every time I would see him now and realize he was the same guy, I would tell my sister in the best Elmo voice I can, look, 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 it's Mr. Noodle's brother, Mr. Noodle. Because that was him in the Elmo's World shorts.
Oh,
Sadly, he has since passed on, but I think other people, he's a big time actor to have because he was Edward Delacroix in Tom Hanks's big movie with Frank Darabont, The Green Mile. Guy who went out in probably the worst way anybody could go out. Electrocution, in a slow, painful way without the sponge to instant death him. So, but yeah, he was the guy with the mouse, Mr. Jingles, before it was given to Michael Clark Duncan. But sadly, he did pass away in 2003.
That's such a shame. But yeah, when you see him, he would uh be given a call to what who we know as being Paul Kirby, as he has gathered some mercenaries. I never worked with them personally, but they're the best I could, best in your field.
Best he
And it's
could
gonna like,
afford, I said.
yeah, probably best you could afford from a Wish website.
Like these feel like the guys Ludlow would have had as part of his, goon squad, but not on a Roland Tembo level.
It's like, oh, don't worry, it's just gonna be a walk in the park. It's like, no, it certainly won't.
But yeah, we had Bruce Young as Nash, and there was John Dell as Cooper, who has a memorable exit. In fact, I think this all these guys were probably down on the totem pole because they pretty much all end up, dino food by the before the first act is even up.
Uh-huh. By the same dino even.
Well, Udesky got taken out by raptors, but we'll get to him last. So we'll probably go in order of. Uh, Let's say Cooper's presented as this cool guy. He's got glasses, mysterious. He's like a Steven Seagal meets Kano type. You think, oh, this guy's probably going to be a badass in the movie. And the best we get of him is him being a whimpering mess on the airfield. In fact, not we haven't seen a guy act like that in Jurassic for a long time until Rebirth's trailer showing that poor scientist begging to be let out of the room. So him crying for them to stop. And what's funny is they make a big point to show that they have this epic, air rifle that could blow up a plane. But I guess hitting a moving target that can tail whip you into a tree and break your arm makes that hard to do.
Look,
Like,
good against the remote is one thing. Good against the living, that's something
yeah,
else.
and Nash, I love how when they find out they're in out of the league, Nash is the guy to be the first guy on the plane to get the hell out of Dodge. He doesn't
Well, to be fair, he's a black guy in a dinosaur island. Those don't last very long.
even. He knew.
Unless he was the daughter of Ian Malcolm, he had no chance of surviving any of that.
I mean, the last prominent black guy we saw in Jurassic Park was a background hunter in The Lost World, and he got sent out in the funniest way. Actually, no, we did have that captain, that police captain, security captain, the one that has my favorite line of "Oh my God, what happened to the crew? They're all over the place." Like, anyway, but Bruce Nash has the cell phone in his vest, satellite phone, because there's a whole big deal about it, and he does get taken out pretty brutally by the big bad, the Spinosaurus, tearing its nose into the plane and grabbing him by the leg. And this is a big puppet with a big stunt guy just being, tossed around like a rag doll.
Yanked, yeah, yanked out, moved around. So we're it's they definitely were able to upgrade their tech from when they did it the first time with the second movie,
Yeah, with Eddie.
because they were like, okay, we got to be really really careful here. Let's rehearse this. Like, let's get like guys that lifted up by our legs and lifted by our arms. And here it's like, okay, let's literally put half a guy in this animatronic here.
And then, like I said, and next is Cooper. He gets taken out. It actually makes you like jump in your throat when the first time you see him on the plane. Like you see him shooting, and you think, okay, these guys are epic, and he's running away saying stop, and then he is just,
It always scared the hell out of me, Ian.
mm-hmm, yeah. He does this big no, and then the Spinosaurus just comes out and boom, like it just jump scares the camera. And I think I asked Derica, do you think the blood on the plane was from the Spinosaurus or from Cooper? I think that's a
Yes.
mystery, because if it's from Cooper, then that guy had a lot of blood in him. But if it's from the Spino, no wonder it's pissed off at them. Like you hit me with your damn plane.
Oh, I joked that you were pissed off or something else, but okay, I want to talk about him though. He's like the best thing in this movie.
Yeah. So yeah, but like I said though, memorable for being Dino Chow because we don't see them until much later in the movie when they're digging through spinal crap and we say, oh, there's Cooper's glasses, there's Nash's femur. We're like, and you
But
get
there's actually one more. Uh, Are we not done yet with the those guys?
You know, Mr.
Because
Udesky is the only guy who doesn't get Spinal Child, but he does get a pretty bad fate in which she goes into the wrong. We find out he's not even a merc. Because there's a part when Paul Kirby tells him, "You're not a mercenary, are you?" He's like, "I never said I was. I'm a booking agent."
I'm a booking agent.
When the guys got sick and couldn't come, I'm like, I bet you that guy's feeling pretty lucky right now. Cause,
Yep.
but yeah, he does have some great lines. Like when they say that they see the factory floor, and he tells them, "What do you think it is?" As far as I'm concerned, it's the Four Seasons. And oh man, like I says, he does actually get it bad because he's not even supposed to be there. You're like, oh well, I kind of like this guy. He seems kind of timely and homely. And then he let
The way he described it, it's just like the poor sap from Clerks in the original ending. Dude, I'm not supposed to be here.
yeah. So yeah, basically, Mr. Udesky runs into the foul end of a raptor where he hears cries in the distance, and he's already on the ground, and it uses a sickle claw to like paralyze him.
Oof.
And then
Eh, oh, they see him like limp a little bit. It's like, no, he's not dead. He's alive. But this Amanda slips down and almost lets herself be open. The raptors show that whole time it's like, oh my god, they actually set a trap.
and Billy seems more impressed. Like, oh my god, they actually thought that. Like, so I love it when the Raptors decide to go back and try to find the egg somewhere else. One of the Raptors has it in his mind to at least put Udesky out of his misery. Snaps his neck.
Like they didn't even decide to even drag him away to have him as a snack. They got bigger priorities.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, that always was like a. You never forget that moment for some reason. I don't know why. When the Raptor just puts his head in his jaws, you think he's gonna like crush it or rip his head up, but no, he just does a quick flick to like snap his neck. You go, and you hear that snap too. It's a very powerful like oof.
What a way to go. But we do have one more human cast member in this lineup. Technically, her and her a little bit of a family. It's Ellie Sattler once again shows up, played by Laura Dern. But she doesn't have as much of an active role in this. In fact, she's not brought to the Island of Dinosaurs for obvious reasons. I don't think she would be open to the idea of leaving behind her kids, especially one that looks very young. I think one she's carrying looks probably almost like 2 months old,
And she
probably.
has Charlie at 3 too. So yeah, she has kids.
Oh yeah,
So let me see. There's I have it right here. It actually said that there's a thing about that where they mentioned how it was I have it right here. Shoot. Yes. It says that it was Payne and Taylor who brought back Ellie Sattler. The pair had worked with Laura Dern on his directorial debut, Citizen Ruth, and remained good friends. We were like, how come Laura Dern's not in this? So we included her. And I think we are allowed to believe that Ellie decided this was a lost cause. She's going to really want to have a family, and it wasn't going to be happen with Alan. So it's time to move on. Doesn't mean they stopped being friends. They're still clearly very fond of each other, but having a family thing for Grant was never going to be a realistic option. So the writers resisted the temptation to bring Sattler to Sorna. It was hard enough just to find Grant's journey there, so adding Sattler would have mixed with a stretched credibility. I don't think she needed to go back on the island, says Johnson, who had worked with her on October Sky. I don't think I would have believed that, given that her character's life had taken such a different turn with marriage and children, just like you said. So she was given a final role in the finale, calling the cavalry to rescue Grant and the others. Though Dern took a little convincing from Spielberg to come back, but it was essentially a glorified cameo. I figured come back when there's really something to do. And then Steven calls me, like, what if you just come back and save the day, in and out? And I was like, really? I don't know. And he said, what if Alexander and Jim are writing the scene? And that was amazing to me. So because she knew the writers, she decided to say yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Ellie is the one that saves the day.
but it was so wonderful to get to see her again. I think even Josie joked to say, "This girl does not age."
Mm-hmm. And then,
I just think like, it's
but oh my god, like I said, it was nice to see her again. And like I said, her kids are pretty funny. Like there's a life and death scene happening, and the poor kid gets distracted by Barney jumping in the background.
Ian said she looks a lot like my mom if she had a blonde kid who watches Barney, kind of like me. I, I used to watch Barney a lot too when I was young, Ian. So Yeah,
And then
but damn, imagine the life and death hangs in balance, and cursing Barney is like holding off your conversation.
but oh my gosh, like I said, I mean, if Ellie was on the island, like he says, it would be really, pretty irresponsible with her having such young kids. So
The only way she was able to be a big impact is that she was in love with, she was in a relationship with someone who had relationship ties with the Costa Rican government.
yeah, basically
So
the
of
reason
course,
they get saved, yeah.
yep,
So it's not just a cute little like, oh hey, someone last minute like she's just married. But like I says, it was the writer's decision to not have Ellie hook up with Alan, even though like that was a lot of fans' things. Oh my God, this must have been a sticking point because Dominion pretty much trampled all over that notion.
uh, yeah, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah,
Ian says she also had another boy, kind of like my brother. The only thing she didn't have was a hubby from Espanola.
yeah, it's a little inside joke for us, but yeah. Anyway, so that's all the people. So I guess we get to talk about what we're really here for, because you're probably going to get like Ian. Uh, so you guys are gonna have
Let's
dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour?
Okay, so I think we should be a little bit more merciful and just start off with the T Rex. And that's pretty much all the time we have. Anyways, let's move on. It,
Okay, this is the motherfucking T Rex. This is the bull, who is not the buck, and he is not a grown up junior. Not enough time has passed for that little baby to be that big. Okay, so
so 3 years wouldn't be enough time for that thing to grow up.
well, not to be that big.
It would probably be like a teenage Groot almost, like
Yeah,
from
it'd be
when we
more.
see Baby Groot to Infinity War, I
It
guess.
probably would have been more like the juvenile T Rex in the novel. That's what the baby would have been like in 3 years. But no, this was the buck. I mean the bull. He's called as such in one of the toys, so that kind of stuck around as the name for him. He's the bull T Rex, and because we needed to have a T Rex. Even Jocelyn says, yeah, we kind of needed to have one because that's expected at this point. I mean, you get killed if you don't have a Jurassic Park movie with a T Rex in it. Like this is the face of the franchise. It's the logo. Not in this movie. It's not the logo in this movie.
Now that goes to the other guy, which we'll enthusiastically talk later. Consider the fact that that thing ends up killing this thing.
Yeah, and okay. So, what's funny is there's two
I,
things. One,
I will say, like,
go,
I know a lot of people hate this movie also for that fact where they made the T Rex go down dirty. But as we'll point out, there was some things that kind of influenced that fight to happen in that quick way, mostly due to unfortunate circumstances rehearsing the physical stuff.
okay, so one funny thing is when we first see the bull, it shows up eating already dead Parasaurolophus because there's this ongoing debate of whether T Rex, with its little arms and big head, was even a good hunter or not. So there was some guys like Jack Horner would propose that this thing was a scavenger. It only ate dead things already. It didn't have the biting force to kill things, which people are going. That clashes with everyone's idea of this being the great lizard king, the great hunter, the great greatest carnivore. Like to the point where the guy that proposed that T Rex was an active hunter laughed when his parody character got eaten by a T Rex, saying, "See, I told you T Rex was a hunter." In the Lost World, and so we see him here eating the Parasaurolophus, which is you know Horner's theory in action. So I tell you, he had a lot more influence on this one than the other ones. And what's funny is they do the nobody move a muscle thing, and we joke that the way he roars is him saying, "I can still see you."
Assertion! That's a baseless assertion! I can see you just as fine, and I'm gonna snap my teeth at you!
Yeah, and it was a reskinned version of the Buck model. In fact, if you look at the thumbnail, I did use that as the basis for the T Rex's little cameo in the thumbnail.
He just kind of pops in and say, "Hi, I'm in this movie too."
But yeah, so I have the anecdote right here in my visual history guide. Man, I'm using this a lot today. Okay, so
Well, it wouldn't be a tour without some basis in fact to look up.
there's that beautiful picture. Okay, so
Hmm.
it says Spinosaurus T Rex, saying that the practical Rex used on Jurassic Park 2 is the same one used for Lost World. The dino had been kept in Winston's storage facility, and in the intervening years, and evidently was not in mint condition. So after several hours of trading blows with the Spinosaurus, the T Rex's neck broke. It began to spasm like it was having a seizure, Johnson said. There was yelling from the animatronic crew, and someone screamed, "Shut it down!" John Rosenkrantz came running onto the set, leaping over cables and set dressing logs, carrying a 14-inch butcher knife. Jumping onto the T Rex, Rosenkrantz plunged the knife into the creature's foam rubber throat and dragged it down to open a huge slit along 3 feet long. Johnson has hydraulic fluid spurting out of the wound. The crew grabbed towels and quickly surrounded the creature, attempting to stem the flow. A hydraulic line had burst, the fluid threatening to eat through the T Rex's rubber skin. Fortunately, the damage was minimal. The Spinosaurus literally ripped the T Rex's head off, Winston exclaimed. There was literally no contest between the machines, much less the real animals. So, so yeah, that's what happened.
Ian actually has a question. When he chases after humans, is he actually chasing them, or can he smell the Spino coming and he's actually moving to intercept? Maybe that's also why he roars?
Well, I think he was going for the people. He thought, "Oh boy, little snacks." But when he saw the much bigger fish, he was like, "Hey, this is my territory." And to be fair, Rexy, the bull instigated. He's the one that did the first bite.
Yeah. The poor fella managed to put up a good fight, but it wasn't enough. So yes, the incident with the animatronic did lead to
Less
them
use.
going like, well, that's. I guess we might as well have to show them what happened with what our poor Rex went through.
Well, I bet you when they had it on the ground, that was probably the actual animatronic dress to look like it had fallen. But
But to be fair, they actually did do. Okay, so this is actually one of their biggest achievements where they had practical effects merging in with their CGI effects. So there is actually a scene where you see the actual T Rex animatronic, and the Spino is actually a CG effect that comes down and actually looks like it's chomping down on the animatronic.
yeah, so they had the animatronic ram, and they had the CG go, whoosh, but it looked like a practical model biting the neck. So yeah. Anyway, so that's the T Rex, and they wanted to rip the band-aid off right away. They wanted to show you the new kid on the block, so they had the T-Rex be killed early on. I asked Derica how she would feel that would have played if they had saved the T-Rex death to like later in the movie.
In my personal opinion, I feel like it would cheapen it a little bit. It's to be like the big grandiose thing. It would have been like, imagine if Jurassic World built up the T Rex coming against the Indominus, and it went down in 10 seconds flat.
Oh, so the Godzilla Fauna War scene. Because
Ouch.
you know how I was so happy to say, "Oh boy, my boy Zilla's about to face off against Godzilla. This is gonna be great." And literally 12 seconds later, what happened?
Good news and bad news. Good news is we did bring 98 into the main fold. Bad news is it's not the cartoon series
It's a curb
Godzilla, so
stomp,
it
yeah.
doesn't have all. Yeah, it's a curd stop.
But yeah,
If Godzilla was fighting the cartoon one, he'd at least have a little bit more of a fight.
all right. So that's the Rexy. And now we have the other big guys who are on the poster. The
The Pteranodons.
finally we have flying dinosaurs. Finally.
At long fucking last. No more like last minute cameos in the second movie. No more like possible teases for the toy line in the first movie, but we don't actually get to show you them. No, we legit get to have them here, and unfortunately, they're one of the few dinosaurs that don't get a uh physical counterpoint made. Well, they actually did make it, but after like 3 takes of it, they realized immediately it's like, okay, we could literally have the best skilled, skinniest actor in a suit, and it's still not gonna look.
They still had an
It's gonna.
animatronic
It's
puppet for like the face and stuff, but they couldn't have a guy on set with the pteranodon suit.
Ian's does anyone remember the Flash animation of Japanese Godzilla vs. America? Not a Flash one. I do remember seeing some like 3D animated ones. And then of course there's the one that was made by the Utopia Films where you have it doesn't have them fighting, but them fighting with each with alongside each other against the unused Griffin.
But yeah.
But but actually that one doesn't count because that was technically that's both American Godzillas teaming up.
Oh my god, that was a great one. But so the pteranodons have a great like they were pretty scary and weird, so they tried to give them an almost horror villain style of coming out of the mist thing, and they're mean, they're vicious, like
They're sadistic.
oh no, yeah,
Even the babies have like no chill. They're just like hopping around like little mad frogs and just chirping and like nipping on Eric.
I gotta say that human skeleton looks rather fresh though.
Hmm.
I do gotta say though, maybe because like remember what Nick said way back when he's heard too many stories about fishermen who go too close to the islands and never returned.
This was way long ago, and then the end they fell into the water, and you get to choose who wins. The right side of the water is just quoting Ian. I always remember the revelation of the birdcage. Yes, that is always a great scene. To be fair, it is a great scene considering the fact it is lifted off from the books. So it's not directly Michael Crichton, but it's got Michael Crichton's flavor. Like it's got
And
a little spice zest in it.
like I said, you gotta admit, it is cool to when you see it just crawling out of the mist, walking on its forelegs, trying to, and Eric just freaks out.
And it's kind of interesting to because most people when they think of like pteranodons or pterodactyls and all that, they always imagine them having like the little feet that they always kind of stand up on and have like the little hook hands. They're basically like dinosaur bats is how they always approach them. But in this movie, they decided to approach them as like they're kind of like a mix between the albatrosses and actual like four-legged creatures that
And
just kind of
they're almost alien
like
in a sort of
lurk
way.
around. Yes, that's definitely another thing that they do.
And like I said though, when they mess up the sail that Billy's riding in, you're like, oh crap. And there's a kind of a humorous moment where Dr. Grant kicks a pteranodon and they end up falling the cage, and even the burst like it's going whoa like wow before the cage falls on it.
Ian says there's so many scenes in this movie that live in my head rent free without me realizing it. Yes, there are, and we'll definitely talk more about that when we talk about reactions to it.
But yeah, so like I says though, they tear the
I
sails
do,
and
I
they
do
don't.
have to wonder though.
Yeah, go on.
It's so we did at the end of the last war, we did get teased on them being out and about, flying. But yeah, in three, they're supposed to be said that they've been kind of trapped in this cage all this time until now.
I think
So
that was a different breed. Plus, I think those ones had more chill than the ones that were in the cage. Maybe the ones in the cage were a little more psychotic. Maybe that was
also,
The Arkham Asylum
also,
for them.
also, I think they might also have been the smaller breeds, the smaller species of the flying dinosaurs, rather than the pteranodons, which are like really huge. They're almost like bigger than human size, almost. Not quite to the level of like the Quetzalcoatl, as we'll get to see later, but definitely big enough.
Okay, there actually is a thing about the one that appeared in the Lost World. Let me see. Mm, yeah, so the first variation, uh, as many characteristics of birds that can be seen with a bipedal gait, neck posture, and a hooked beak. Their bodies are black with the wing membrane tan, the wings brown, the heads are blue and black. So I know it's characteristic. Tell me what the deal was.
Hmm.
Some of the so those were some that were freed by the island, but most of them were still stuck in the aviary. So that's the deal. Okay. Anyway,
So yeah, they actually have a big scary moment, and then of course they have a little tease where they unfortunately did not think to close the gate behind them enough. So like this is kind of a rule in any zoo. You always have well, to be fair, they kind of have it set up as like there's a two-door system. It's like there's an outer door and then there's an inner door, which I don't think the guys that created this island even thought of when they did that, because they're just operating just having this initial screen door and that's it. But yeah, that screen door doesn't latch on pretty good, so the pteranodons have a way to get out.
so like I said, they have that scene where they sweep Billy off his feet and then they start pecking him to death in the river with the blood showing. And there's that one part when the one pteranodon closest to the camera just turns around and looks at the camera almost like a "you're next" face.
Oh, that's a good transition too. It's like use that trick with the camera. It's like the background to the foreground, like fuzz
Foreground, yeah.
focus. But it's the way they did it is like the pteranodon that was looking away at for a moment before looking towards them. It almost looks like it's kind of camouflaged, almost like it's a tree branch. And then it starts to look and say, "Oh my God, there's one straight in front of you."
And it flies for Grant and Kirby, and they have their action moment scene where they jump into the river, which every advertisement used that shot where they run into the river.
Hmm.
But even it's
Billy
like,
looks like a rough. Billy looks like a rough draft Michael Fassbender. Oh
oh
no,
god,
he does.
man,
He
we are
does.
just being mean to Alessandro Navallo. And I know he stole some
Uh,
rapper rights, but no reason to go hard on the guy. So
okay.
but
But
yeah,
they also have one more scene where they're seen flying by the
majestically.
helicopters, and of course, all the human characters aren't phased by the fact that oh hey, the flying dinosaurs are leaving the island. Well, that's a thing. That's their problem, not ours. Uh, yes, it certainly is gonna be a problem to you. What if they decide to nest and start to like multiply later on? That's not gonna be a worry to you?
I'm pretty sure.
No.
I'm pretty sure Private Pile from Full Metal Jacket will be able to round him up and kill them off in an unseen comic story. Hoskins. Yeah, Clayton
So we
Fioretti once again.
so we do have a little brief moment where we have an Ankylosaurus gets a unseen screen thing.
Hey, we
Once
made
again,
it.
it's more of a walk by. I swear, a lot of the
The herbivores are
herbivores
just
just like they're just like walk by cameos. I don't know why the studio seemed. I don't know if it was a studio decision or if it was Joe Johnston's decision to just focus on the carnivores.
well. Who sells the more
Like, yeah,
toys?
I think Steven Spielberg would argue, consider the fact that one of his favorite dinosaurs is the Stegosaurus, and that's a herbivore.
True.
But yeah, it's there's that Ankylosaurus will definitely get a bigger role in the next movie. But there's also what's the one dinosaur that gets the comedic moment where it smells the cat after digging through spinal poop for
Uh,
the
I,
satellite phone?
I
What?
think it's a ceratosaur.
Yeah, the Ceratosaurus appears, and you think it's gonna be this like big chase, but he takes one whiff of that and says, "Oh hell no, I ain't touching this shit."
Literally.
Ian even says it's a derpy-eyed Ceratosaurus.
Make a joke saying, "Excuse me, I have standards."
Although realistically, it's Eric pointing out that like even T-Rex P alone like warded off like smaller predators, but just only attracts the really big ones. So the defecated remains from a big predator like the Spinosaurus would ward off a smaller predator like that. So yeah,
Or maybe he knew Spiny was nearby.
I'm not that hungry, Ian says. And we get the other herbivores. We get the Brachiosaurus appears again, although it's got kind of a little bit more menacing look to it. I feel, but as Josie pointed out, that's the male of the species. The female definitely got look more cuter, softer look to them.
It's because the males have more colors, more stripes on them. So I guess that's to go with the bird coloration. Females are usually plain and brown, and the males have the much more exuberant colors.
Which, stepping on, since we're in Pride Month now, you have to stop and wonder. It's like, is it really to attract the females, or is it just to be a little bit more flamboyant? You know? Hey, I'm just saying, if they want to flaunt that much color, it's good on them. Honestly, just good on them.
And then anyway, so the next ones on our list, that actually on the list is the Raptors, a returner.
The Velocity, as the antagonistic force again. It's like, okay, it's Jurassic Park checklist. We need big predator, check. You need dumb humans, check. You need velociraptors, double check.
But yeah, but
Although to be fair, in this movie, the velociraptors kind of have a little bit more of a smarter role. Well, to be fair, this velociraptors always had the smarter role in the first movie, but they weren't. They were kind of saved for like the last act of the movie, whereas in the same thing with the Lost World, they were just kind of like saved for the last act for on Isla Sorna. And then, but here they're kind of an active force that's chasing them down just as much as Spinosaurus. But their reason, of course, is that something precious was taken from them, and they're intent on getting it back safe and sound. And I so Josie did actually ask me what to call these raptors, since I called the Dude Bros in the Lost World the Tire Claws. And I was kind of stumped for a moment, but when I was setting up the itinerary tonight, I realized, okay, I'm just gonna call these guys the nest wraiths.
on top of that, the female has a very ghosty appearance.
Yeah, so I figured since they're kind of like uh nest rescuers, and they're led mostly by the female that has that ghostly white look to them. Ian says the Have Raptors. Is that you kind of spell it? It's Javeraptors. Oh, this is a joke. Basically, they're dinosaur versions of Javier from Les Miserables. Javier Raptors.
Yes, they have just cause. And I joke
But
I
of course, they also
I joked with
they
Erica
also
that when they found out their eggs were gone, I'm sure they did their own version of the Vegeta my baby boy thing.
Mama would probably be pissed, and so make their first appearance after their nest is hoarded. At the factory grounds. I have to wonder what the hell would that Velociraptor is doing when he was just trying to play pretend dead at the jar. It's like, okay. So I know we're trying to chase these guys down, but I want to do this really funny joke here. I'm just gonna sit still here, just wait for them, just take a look at me, and then I just gonna give them a look, and then yeah, I just got them. It's just the silliest thing. Just I don't know, but yeah, and it's funny considering they're not actually the most antagonistic of the dinosaur on these islands. That is role is reserved for Big Boy when we get to him very soon after we're done with these ladies and gents. But of course, the big notable thing about these velociraptors is these velociraptors, mostly the males, have the feathers. The touted feathers that were missing from the velociraptors that made them or closer to their real life counterparts,
They had
which
like the little quills on it.
in
Yeah.
truth, actually for the most part, Jonesy was originally going to call them the Mohawk. Excuse me, the Mohawks.
The mohawks.
Which, if we're going to go by that, Jonesy, I would have said like, well, I guess we might as well just call them the Los Locos.
But yeah, then what raptor group could be called the Warriors? Yeah, but which group in the series? Blues Gang. Oh, that's kind of cute now that I think about it. Huh. No, they're actually.
Raptor. I've always wanted to do that, and the Gallimices never fall for it.
But yeah, the the Raptor Squad is what the next group is called. So anyway, um, so
Nest nest rates.
so what do you think of the redesigns on them personally?
Uh, so they come closer to the designs that we get to see them again in Jurassic World. So I'm of a good notion of that one for the female ones. For the males, it's I don't know why they just decided to sprout the feathers because we didn't see them on the tired claws. So I don't know, but I guess you could say they're kind of like as like time passes on the island, they're starting to regain more and more of their original traits since they're going away from the artificial way that they're born. So it's kind of like a genetic thing almost. But so yeah, so it's essentially they're inbreeding, but it's helping purify them to be more natural dinosaur. So that's a weird way to think about that.
Of course, the other big thing is the fact that they can vocalize now. Like it's a big deal when that guy gets locked up. He starts making that chirp to call for help, almost like an SOS.
Oh my god, actually calling for help.
But yeah, so
It would have been funny to see them actually knowing how to do like door handles in this, but I think that would have been like one step too far of a callback. I feel like.
yeah, the John Johnston didn't want to do too much like quoting of the last one.
Excuse me, but they're actually being more clever. They're actually setting traps with human baits as opposed to just doing the like dress distracting one of them while the other one's sneaking around.
It could just be funny. Imagine that Muldoon scene, but it's the raptor in the front singing the "I'm a Distraction" song from "To Boldly Flee."
I'm a distraction. I'm a distraction.
But yeah, um, so the I like the way
That's right.
I like the way that the female looks. Just has a regalness. She's almost like a horse kind of, but also very pretty. Like in some angles she runs, she looks exactly like the OG Raptors, but then she turns her head and you realize, oh yeah, this is more based off actual skeletons because Jack Horner again had more direct involvement this time around.
And also in physicality, they actually did have someone to be able to fit into the legs, so you actually see the legs walking on the ground, rustling the leaves under its toes, right down to stepping on Mr. Udensky and snapping its claw down on his back.
Yeah, John Rosenkrantz who did the clicking of the feet in the original.
And once again, they also did have moments where they have practical raptors interacting with CG raptors. I think they really did feel proud to have because in the past, whenever they do a CG effect, they're every dinosaur in that shot is going to be CG. They're not going to have an animatronic in the way because they fear that it's going to kind of make one or the other kind of stand out as a sore thumb. But to be honest, when we were watching the movie, we didn't even know which ones were real and which ones were CG. We always assumed like if there's a CG shot that we knew of that all of them were CG, but apparently there were some that were kind of like practical, like in the same shot with the CG, and I think that's a better testament to how the effects should be done nowadays. They definitely should have like physical ones if they can do it. If there's things they know they absolutely certainly cannot do, yes, that's when you do the CG. But like, come on, guys, let's actually like bridge the two together again.
Like a full body shot jumping up at Tay Leone's face has to be CG because you're not gonna have an animatronic snapping at her.
Oh, definitely not that close, anyways.
Hmm.
That's way too dangerous.
But
But if you could do something like that very safely, like stepping onto Mr. Udensky and snapping a claw on his back, yes, you can definitely do that, like
now
real on the camera.
what about the fact that they also make the Raptors more than just one note dimensional villains that are out to kill everything because they reason. Like I love it when Grant mentions the eggs, he's gonna throw them away, and he says those things are after us because we have those eggs. And he says, um, those things
Well, are you
know.
kidding me? The, uh, and Paul Curry is like, what are you kidding me? They're not just because of those eggs. What did they find us with them?
So what if they catch us without them? Those things know we have the eggs. If I throw them in the river, they'll still be after us. I love how
And then of course,
I love how
no, no.
Alan is piecing together that it's a raptor nest by how close the clusters are together. Because he's probably dug up a few extinct sites like that, so he's just having hyperventilating going. He almost says it like as a whisper, like it's a raptor. Like he's thinking, like we got to get the hell out of Dodge, basically, while keeping his composure.
The poor guy's having PTSD, trembling his entire body at that point when he sees it. And that's just like, no, 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 no. I've done this before. I've seen enough of this. I don't want to go through this. Get me away from this
And
right now.
and I think he would have been pissed off at Billy if he stole any an egg, like a Corinthus egg or even a T Rex egg. But the fact that he picked raptor eggs is what really pissed him off. Saying, "Do you have any idea what these things could do?"
Ooh, yeah, but poor Billy. But at least he still managed to get away. You know what? I'm actually gonna say headcanon. Like the most Billy got away is like he's missing a leg. That's it. That's because I don't see the rest of his body when they see him like recovered for them.
I
Is
think
he's
his
missing a leg. That's
I,
my head canon.
I think his throat got poked out because he spoke very raspily, and he has like a trachea breathing tube on his throat.
Oof. Yeah, his trachea got damaged and he's missing a leg. That's my head canon. Anyways, back to raptors. So when the rat at before the rest of the guys get off the island, they have to take care of one little thing, and that would be the raptor eggs. And so the raptors like literally have them cornered. They cannot go anywhere. They're literally in a position that they could be killed. But of course, raptors aren't interested in that. They just want the eggs back.
And it's funny how they make the raptors almost sympathetic. Like the female has a look on her face when she's trying to get the eggs.
To the point where I jokes like, okay, we're gonna let you guys go on one condition. Next Jurassic movie, you make us protagonist. I go, protagonist? You guys are sickle wielding like hunter dinosaurs. How the hell are you gonna make you guys like protagonists heroic versus you? It's like, don't care. That's your problem. Anyway, goodbye.
And again, I tell her that this is just the amazing detail when the helicopter scares him away. That the female like puts her jaws around the egg, but you can tell she's being as gentle as possible to lift the egg. And it's almost like it reminds me of when you see like a crocodile put its babies in its mouth, or even like a cat picking up a baby by the neck. Where you're going, is he tearing into it? Like no, they're being as gentle as possible.
I remember seeing a video of like a dog that put his mouth over the head of like this little tiny itsy bitsy kitten just so you could just help lift the kitten to go up the stairs. Like even the person that was filming the video is like, "Hey, careful! Don't do that. Easy." And the dog's like, "Dude, I got this. I know how to handle the littles."
But what's funny too is the Raptors were originally
Yeah,
the Raptors were originally meant to kill the Spino in one of the drafts idea, but they never got around to filming that.
really. So original idea would get recycled later for another thing. That's that's always the way it goes in these Jurassic movies, now, doesn't it? It's like we have this idea here, don't use it. I will save it for the next one.
Let me see. I have a thing right here about it. But the Raptors evolved. Oh, on that note, we gotta point out how we're amazed at by the set design because there's a point where they filmed in Hawaii for a few shots and they made a set of it with their own trees and painted backgrounds and everything to the point where the poor director was saying, "I'm kind of forgetting what was shot in Hawaii and what was shot on the stage."
Yeah, it's just I was amazed when we pointed out like there's. I actually thought they shot most of this like on site on the island. When we said like yeah, they had to do sets. Really? This was a set? It's like my God, why don't people do set designs like this anymore? This is like immaculate.
Anyway, so I'll get to that when we talk about the ending. Um,
Mhm.
anyway, but yeah, like I said, the Raptors, they did very well. But the rumor I heard was that at one point they were supposed to kill the Spino, but I guess people were hoping that would be as vengeance for taking out the other OG buddy from the island.
But I think he kind of dawdled enough around it. You know it. I know it. I was able to draw Spinosaurus like 1-to-1 so good that Jonesy was able to say, you know what? I'm actually going to draw the Spino on the thumbnail exactly the way that you draw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really my proudest moments, I feel.
Well, yeah, because um, Derica was the one who was gung ho for making these thumbnails, but she admits that some of her dinosaurs could use a little work at times, and I've gone through the process of like taking actual model references and tweaking them a bit. I mean, look,
As I joke, you're doing essentially the same work as most of the CGI effects got crew do for the Jurassic Park movies.
well, in this case, Spiny is a great animatronic because we'd have to use him in camera.
Would you say that this is my miracle, like it was with the baby Diana for Stan Winston in the last movie?
I would say,
But
but
yeah, the Spinosaurus, the what was the full scientific name? Oh my,
Spinosaurus
this,
aegypticus.
yep, was touted at the time to be the biggest predator in the dinosaur pantheon, and so of course Jack Horner would have said like, I think you should definitely use this guy. He's definitely like much bigger than the T Rex. He would definitely kind of shake things up. And to his credit, you can kind of see that, consider the fact that this is a dinosaur that like works both dangerous on land or on water. Unlike the T Rex, he has a much bigger mouth to wrap around a huge predator's neck to snap and kill, or is also very serrated to chomp down on. And unlike this T Rex, he actually has arms that work. And so, to be fair, even after this movie, the Spinosaurus's stature would always change. Like he'll always be like a bipedal, and then sometimes it's kind of mostly a quadruped. I think at some point, paleontologists have agreed it's like, okay, it's mostly a quadruped, but if possible, it can go bipedal.
Yeah,
At
so
least that's the last I heard. Last I think the last time I heard about that was like back when I was in high school looking them up. So that was like late 2010s or
wait,
something.
it looks like the new Spinos and Rebirth are taking more cues from modern paleontology things. So chances are that'll change in 10 years again too. Okay, so here it is. Johnson was adamant that San Francisco should play a part of the particular. They say that they Crash McCreary produced a series of sketches for the Spinosaur, which fellow Jurassic Park veteran Joey Orozco built the 16-scale maquette of the creature. A fifth scale model, 8 feet long, was built next to the full size was created, weighing in at 24,000 pounds and measuring 44 feet long. It was a true giant, the heaviest animatronic ever built by Sam Winston Studio. It was exactly the bigger, badder dinosaur that Johnson wanted. So this thing was
Hmm.
huge.
Oh, no kidding. Especially it it's a it's a godsend that this is like this big. The animatronics they do with the Spinosaurus is so grand. They actually even made it so that they focus on, okay, we're gonna make this animatronic, but we're gonna make sure this animatronic works underwater.
No
Like
shakes for
it's
this
funny.
one.
No, no more shakes. This is built with intent to work in water. Which, oh my god, when the Spinosaurus is in the water at the big climax, it looks the most raw, scariest thing you will ever see coming. It's almost like if the big Bruce from Jaws got like a huge boosted serotonin, like nitrous oxide upgrade.
And
Like you're gonna need a bigger boat, like more like bigger prayers to escape from this.
it's, and he is just that model. I'm gonna try to find some rain model images like gifs because we seem to be safe with gifs. No audio, nothing to claim.
Hmm. But yeah, I growing up as a little kid watching this movie, I always thought the Spinosaurus was a little bit more cool. Yeah, it's obviously it's more bigger, badder. dinosaur that's more edgier is cooler than the already cool T Rex. But it really was kind of a danger. It was a straight up menace in this movie, whereas the T Rex is kind of a force in nature. It was just doing its own thing. The Spinosaurus was just straight up adamant to get these guys in his stomach, to the point where he's like literally playing with his food when they're like in the the crashed plane, which they, so we didn't actually get to mention it. The plane itself was actually such a multi-layered set that they did. They kind of had three different versions of that plane, and they did two of each of those. So they had six sets to work on with this plane. With this plane crash that like was worked out, stuck up in the tree, and had wires to make it hydraulics to get shooken around with the Spinosaurus digging in. It had one that would roll around to match for when the Spino was just kind of rolling them around like little tumbler cages. And of course, there's one that was just get squashed from the outside from the hydraulics, and one that was squashed from the inside from hydraulics inside. Maybe then they would also have like animatronic foot feet to kind of match into that. So most of the attack you see on the plane in the movie, aside from the arms that were just kind of rolling the plane a little bit, was actually practical effects, and that's kind of. I'm just so glad that they for their new logo iconic big bad that they actually did more work for him to be on the spot in person.
Although we were a little bit pissed off that, okay, this is going to come up with our legacy later, but ever since then, the backlash to this guy was so intense that all future releases of this DVD will replace it either with the regular JP logo with 3 on it or Jurassic World logo with a 3 on it with a chrome T Rex instead of a chrome Spino.
But if you're like me, you'd still be able to get like the poster of Jurassic Park 3 in one of the slipcovers. Or I believe I still have a copy of my DVD that has this was circulated in like all of the what was the stores, the Dollar Generals, I think you said, that were just had the no, the Goodwills that had the silver covers and the spinal with the slash 3 on it. Yeah.
And as
But
you could even see on our logo for this episode, it's the Spino logo.
well, that's I had to draw it like that to give an idea. It's like, look, I know they definitely wanted to have the T-Rex on there, but no, when you're thinking of the third movie, you're thinking of this big bad boy that just decided to take your reins from the original king. Uh, it's just something that just takes the breath out of you a little bit when you see that. Okay, that's not a gift. Really hope we're not jumped on. But
Oh,
I'm keeping an eye on I'm keeping an eye on the video. So far I haven't seen us like disappear or anything. But
I'm showing him right here digging. You see? Look at. Okay, I'm going to stop the
mm,
capture, but there we go. I stopped it. But yeah, like I said, like I was
okay.
telling Derica, we always quote the river every time we have to mention Site B.
Mhm. So okay, I'm just still checking. So, we're good. We're good. Everything's good. Nothing has happened to us. So
I know she always clutches her
oh,
sphincter every time I try to do that.
I'm sorry, but it's like I'm still waiting on our us recovering our first one.
Okay, yeah. So sorry, my mic was muted explaining, but like I said, I just wanted to show off just how beautiful that sucker is coming out of the water. And Stan Winston was so proud. He sounded like a proud father describing. He says some of the most dramatic footage I've ever seen was with the Spinosaurus. He said, Like that thing was real. It was acting. Although I keep spamming this story every damn time I mention it. I see Amanda Kirby kind of gets a little scuffed up by the spinal arm. In fact, Tay Leone kept getting bruises and slashes on the back of her back to the point where one time she came home from work and her husband, David Duchovny, Mulder, for you X Files fans, sees her and says, "So at what point in this movie did they whip you?"
No, that wasn't whipping around. That was just a dinosaur.
Like, huh. But yeah, it was like I says though, that thing is scary and it does kind of feel odd that he doesn't really get a climax moment like the other villain dinos do in the other movies.
But the best he gets is like getting a flare gun that sets off some gasoline that was leaking out of into the river, and gets scared off by that. But
But but I say he just has one of the best roars ever. Like when you first hear that snarl in the distance and they go, "Is that a T Rex?"
it's something bigger.
You just feel the power in it roar. And I Derek, I was kind of already had a long day, so I was kind of nodding off. So I snapped up when Derek was hearing the ingredients for the Spinosaurus roar. I was like, okay, tigers and lion growls make sense, but they say baby bear. I heard the biggest what from her.
But I mean, have you ever heard of a baby bear roaring before?
Well,
To the
it's,
point where it's used for a dinosaur.
well, it's probably that little like
It's,
part of it, and you mix it with the bellowing horn and the big tiger roar. You get that big roar. Yep. It's just an amazing roar. That I made a joke when
so so are you telling me that this thing is made of lions and tigers and bears?
oh my.
Oh, but speaking of referencing classic movies, one aspect of the Spinal that's a little bit humorous, but it is kind of actually scary when it happens is okay. So the nice little tender reunion between the Kirbys and Eric with Alan is when Eric hears the cellular phone going off. Although you have to wonder, it's like, wait, did they always have the cellular on them? Why didn't they use it to call for help? But until they get reunited, they start to actually think about it. It's like, wait, I don't have the cellular. Wait, no, I gave it to Nash.
And Nash,
Nash had it when, and then you look over and you realize the ringing is coming from inside the belly of the Spino. So yes, Spino is literally being like TikTok the crocodile from Peter Pan.
because he's kind of crocodilian himself, and it's cool that they always had that little ringtone as a harbinger of his arrival.
To the point where you hear the ringtone again later in the movie, you realize like, oh shit, is he here nearby? Oh god, oh no, and it's like, nope, he pooped that out.
So I think we're in a
Which
good.
even makes which makes it even more scary because now he doesn't have the little indicator to show that he's nearby.
So, uh, here's a question. I think we're on a consensus that the Spinosaurus is male. I guess because we keep saying he with him.
Well, I always whenever looking up the behind the scenes, I always assume the Spinosaurus is marked as a he. Even the cast members marked as he.
Like he kicked the T
And to be
Rex's
fair, yeah,
ass. Yeah,
to be fair, most of the dinosaurs on Isosaur can be both male and female now.
I
I do wonder if like maybe him not having his mate around kind of like set him up for piss. To be fair, Jonesy actually had a theory that you probably heard from some of the fans say the reason why the Spino is going after is because they did actually use their super killing gun on his mate, which when he manages to curve around and roars at them, that's literally him realizing, did you just kill my girl, you son of a
on
bitch?
top of that, he's much more colorful. He has that blue streak in his tail and the bright red coloration. So this Spino could be male.
And to be fair, I like that theory a little bit, but I'm more of the idea like the dude was just like the biggest, baddest thing on the entire island with nothing to challenge him really. So he just kind of had that pompous asshole notion to him. It's almost kind of like a precursor to the Indominus Rex, really.
Now, with that note in mind, pompous. Can you imagine the Spinosaurus being voiced by Robbie Rotten?
Oof.
I'm,
number one.
Because yes, they did make a parody of I Am Number One involving the Jurassic Park 3 Spino being Prime Ravi, and then the Ravi clones are the new trio from Rebirth. Which I heard some fans nicknamed them Mo, Larry, Curly, and Larry.
Oh,
You get it.
it, but going back to the cellular phone, I actually joked that that's the reason why he's kind of pissed at this. Say, okay, I know you're not having a happy moment here, but I've listened to this for 12 goddamn hours. So what if you come over here and answer your fucking phone?
On top of that, though,
12 fucking hours.
one of my favorite cries he makes sounds like cafeteria chairs being scraped against the floor of a trash can. It's like this little like oh. He makes that noise when he can't get in through the big security gate in the aviary.
And then he just decides to take a few steps back and just charges out and say, "Ha! Fences don't hold me down."
But a door can. Um, but yeah, like I said, though, he's cunning. He's mad. He's a big brute. The animatronic is the best ever done, practically, and probably one of Stan's proudest works. And once again, sadly, probably one of the last things Stan's personally supervised involving Jurassic Park, given that he passed away in 2008 during the production of Terminator Salvation.
Same year as Michael Crichton. That's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sad.
Yeah, we were watching the documentary, and then we kind of got hit by the double whammy of them saying the sad thing is that in the years since we've lost two prominent members, and they actually did a highlight for them, and I go, oh yeah, they died.
Same year. I didn't even know that. I just saw this like God, 2008. That was the death of Jurassic Park right there, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit.
Maybe that's why they call the new movies going forward World, so they can honor what those guys made with Park. Hmm. Interesting way to look at
So
it.
so yeah. Anyway, so the rest of the movie goes. Wait, that's it? They just get off the island. The pteranodons just flying off in the distance. They don't. There's no surprise ending here. That's it. That barely clocked into 2 hours. What happened?
Well, I have that right here, my trusty guide. um, Again, if you have a chance to buy this book and you see it, I'd say go for it. Um, shoot, I got it right here. But we were surprised about how much of a breeze this movie was. Oh, so, yes, by the way, there's so Billy. It was agreed that the death of Billy cast a pall over the end, even though at the time his apparent demise was shot. We didn't even have an ending on paper, said Johnson. The studio didn't raise any concerns during the scripting or shooting, but it became more apparent that having Billy survive as an unexpected surprise was probably a good idea. So they shot it on stage 12. The scene was shot in a helicopter with Grant anyway, and they just added me into the scene, said Nivola. Nivola is amused by fans ask why his character swathed in bandages in the final scene and had not returned for subsequent Jurassic movies. I'd be the most maimed looking person in the history of the franchise. Like, I was attacked by Edward Scissorhands, so that's why Billy didn't come back, because he says, realistically, all the scarring I got from the Pteranodon, he wouldn't be the prettiest looking guy. He'd be like that's Mr. Skinner in 101 and Dalmatians.
Oh yeah. Hey Disney, try to release a Blu-ray of that movie for God's sakes. Come on. I know people are saying like no more live action remakes, but that give love to that one,
so,
please.
so it says this. So as I mentioned, there was an original ending where they used A-10s to bomb the hell out of the island, but because um, Robbie was still on the island, they stopped their attack because they didn't want to hit a kid, and Grant decided the best way to keep the island safe is for him to stay on it. So they said that other things that were changed was Alex Buchanan's written ending features the A-10 bombing was nixed. It replaced with the arrival of two Costa Rican helicopters, which were attacked by pteranodons. The Kirby's and Grant survive, but not before Grant gets entangled with the pteranodon and the ladder dangling between the chopper, its head caught in one of the rungs. But its ending didn't satisfy anybody either. It never got developed to the point where everybody was completely happy about it. So they redid it.
So they did have original ideas, and then at a point they were just like, we're done. That's all the smoke in our gasoline tank could handle.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if we could, because I think that would have been the climax. Because there is no climax to this movie. You get the Spinosaurus attack, he gets warded off, the raptors show up, and then that de-escalates, and then that's it.
So yeah, that notion, the bull getting like an unceremonious death by the Spino and the hilarious uh, raptor dream. It's safe to say that this movie wasn't like well received. It wasn't terrible, obviously, since we're as the way you describe it, and we're just gelling so much about the special effects and all that. It's definitely not terrible, but it's just it's mm, it's definitely not getting anything new, which definitely kind of is troubling, as I pointed out earlier. That people were kind of sick to death of dinosaurs because there wasn't a way to challenge Jurassic Park. But if Jurassic Park is just putting out movies, they're just kind of like they're just putting them out just because. Then at a point you have to wonder, it's like, well, what's really the point then?
Well, don't forget a year prior we had Disney's Dinosaur in theaters.
Yeah, that's another underrated one that nobody really talks about. But to be fair, that was mostly just like, okay, let's shoot like a lot of like realistic locations and all that, and just have CGI dinosaurs in it.
So
And to be
here,
fair, they were really. I'll at least give credit to those guys. They were actually willing to make put dinosaurs on screen that weren't showcased in any of the Jurassic Park movies. They had to really dig deep down to like the undertale. They were the first to get the demonic looking Carnotaurus. They got the
iguanodons.
iguanodons. The what I think there was a different subspecies of the Brachiosaur for one of the old.
Baleen was still a regular brachiosaur, but Ema was a styracosaur, not a triceratops.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they said that Jurassic Park 3 is darker and faster than its predecessors, but doesn't quite compensate for the franchise's continuing creative decline. But
Mm.
on that site,
It's
it was the lowest rated film of the series until the release of Dominion in 2002, to make the lowest rated film of the original trilogy. But they.
ouch.
So someone says, uh, Jurassic Park has no pretensions to be anything more than a goosebumpy fantasy theme park ride for kids, but it's such a routine ride. Spielberg's wizardry is gone, and his balletic light touch as well, and that gives too much of this 90-minute movie duller than dull characters. And someone from Variety said it's an all action, helter skelter, don't forget to buy the computer game ride that makes the two previous installments look like models of classic filmmaking. And another one said,
Double ouch.
not as good as Ride of the first, but a damn slight better than the second. Because remember, some people hated The Lost World, so some people would prefer 3 to The Lost World.
Actually, if I recall, was isn't the tomato score slightly higher for three compared to Lost World?
It's at 49, whereas The Lost World,
I know the Lost World was like at around the 30s.
ouch.
Is it?
Well, now it's at 53,
Oh,
but I don't know what the
but
time.
yeah, but yeah, but yeah. Obviously, because of the resurgence of people liking that movie. But I do remember at one point the three had a little bit of a higher score than the second one did.
Oof, this is an Apollo movie guide. Patent the film as almost being the same as the first movie, but no need for new ideas or even a script. But some people called it short, scrappy, and intermittently scary. But Richard Roper and Roger Ebert, they said that Richard Roper gave it a thumbs down while Roger Ebert gave it a thumbs up. And in a subsequent review, Ebert called it the best blockbuster of the summer. In his written review, Ebert gave the film 3 stars and said, it's not as awe inspiring as the first film or as elaborate as the second, but in its own B movie way, it's a nice little thrill machine. He also wrote, I can't praise it for its art, but I must not neglect its craft, and on that basis, I recommend it. So he knew that the hard work put into it was worth it to see.
Thank you, Ebert. Still not gonna forgive you for smack talking all of our horror movies, though.
um, but it said that Robert Backer, an early pioneer of the dinosaur bird connection, said the feathered quill raptors looked like a roadrunner's toupee, but conceded that the feathers were as difficult subjects for computer animation and speculated that Jurassic Park 4's raptors would have more realistic plumage. Good luck on that, buddy. Spielberg, according to the spokesman, was very happy with Johnson's work on the film. And Crichton said he had not watched the film, but some fans of the series were upset the decision to kill off T Rex and replace it with a new dinosaur. But Robert Backer called the called the the feathers the Roadrunner's toupee.
Ouch.
Now here it is.
To be fair, it's just more trustworthy than the other toupee guy.
So it says retrospective assessment. So some later reviews of the films have been positive, with a couple of critics declaring it superior to Jurassic Park: The Lost World. Retrospective reviewers have also praised the aviary sequence. So Simon Brew, writing Denver Geek, stated that in 2007 the film has an efficiency and focus that is missing from the previous film, and he enjoyed the set pieces but criticized the abrupt ending, how it just stops. Which, yeah, comparing the first film.
Ian said, Ian says, I remember Ebert and Roper arguing about which one was better, JP3 or Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes.
JP3 by a long
Oh,
shot.
oh, definitely. It's like no amount of Helena Bonham Carter uh, primate is it ever going to top the Spinosaurus for JP3.
Yeah, well, maybe they could have had the Spinosaurus and its death row say, damn them all to hell.
Well, no, that would be the Velociraptors from the Dream Sequence's job.
Alan. So they said this
The
that.
argument just the argument just agreed to Ebert saying Jurassic Park 3 is more fun with Roper saying, no, it's not, before it cuts to the next movie.
Bah. But again, Robert really liked The Dark Knight. So, anyway, so it says that several critics reviewed the film in 2015 when World was released, with Justin Digital Spy wrote that despite its shortcomings, it's in. Yeah, I agree with this 100%. Remains immensely rewatchable and visually impressive. It manages to strike a clear balance between moments of terror and genuine laughs. And although Harp considered the film to be the black sheep of the series, he described it as fresh, exciting, and most of all, a whole lot of fun. Because it is a fun movie. Matt Goldberg of Collider wrote that the film doesn't really have any reason to exist beyond proving that the franchise never should have been a franchise to begin with. Ouch. He stated that the film is overly excited to let you know that raptors can vocally speak to each other, which ends up looking funny. It's like we're just missing subtitles. Oh god, I know there's probably fans who wrote some hilarious subtitles to go with each raptor speech talk.
But yeah, we've heard a lot of people talk about it to the point where, so
Wait,
yeah, they did kind of point out that there are some tired out ideas for to the point where development for the fourth Jurassic Park movie would always try to be like, okay, how are we gonna bring something new? How are we gonna one up ourselves? And they would always try to do something incredibly stupid, like try to make militarized dinosaurs or make human dinosaur hybrids, which um moving on.
anyway,
Uh,
but I will say this. This review I agree with. It says what the plot lacks in credibility, it makes up with relatability, and the magazine praises the only film in the series that has zero to do with scientific stupidity or sinister corporate forces, writing that it's all perhaps the most narratively original film of the series. And when you think about it, there's no evil corporate espionage, no biosyn, no scientist hubris making stupid decisions like blood on a
the best, the most we get is just Billy just being desperate enough to steal some raptor eggs. But to be fair, he was really desperate, considering the fact that check was probably going to be next to worthless.
So remember, if they ever need a bathroom fixture or a sink, Paul can come through.
Oh wow, bathroom fixture! I'm sure they'll be great when they're in a dig site in frickin' Montana.
Well, you don't want to use a porta potty out there, that's for sure. But yeah, uh, like I said, you're right. It's and there's no real like villain. Even the mercs that got it were just there doing a job. They weren't like they could have made like Cooper a complete a hole, like have him punch out someone before he gets eaten. But no, they're just dudes who thought, yeah, walk in the park, and then they end up getting their asses chewed out.
If there's any villain in this role in this, it's really the Spinosaurus, who's more of an active threat. But to be fair, it's more of it's basically if he's got an active threat, then so does the Pteranodons, and to a lesser degree the Raptors. But even then, most people still argue say, well, it's just animals, and animals will also be assholes too.
And like I'm saying though, they give them personality, and Spiny definitely has a personality. Okay,
So I think definitely. So this a coincidence of all coincidences. Jurassic Park 3 would be the very first Jurassic Park film that me and Jonesy would have actually seen on the big screen as our very first like theatrical Jurassic movies.
Like I said, like I told her, um, we walked in just as the logos were starting to ripple. Like, oh boy, we were kind of late to the theater, but we didn't like. I was the one that insisted we see Jurassic Park 3, of course, because me being me, and I I jumped back in my seat when the Jurassic Park logo pops up, and I'm thinking, okay, and then the big /3 claw comes through, because
Uh-huh.
it's such a loud noise. So whoosh, you're like, oh god, and then I was even telling her that sequence with the boat is probably my favorite opener of most of the Jurassic series, and we have some good contenders like the raptor scene in the first one, or the the Fallen Kingdom sequence with the Tyrannosaur. But um, I just have a lot of nostalgia and fondness for um the parasaur the paragliding scene.
Ian saw this. This was his first Jurassic Park movie too. In theaters, he saw this when he was 5.
So we're all really showing our age group here by saying yay, because if we had said that Jurassic Park 1 was our first in the theater, ooh, you old. If The Lost World was your first in the theater, okay, that's like episode 3 age. But, I mean, episode 1 age. But, um, this is definitely within that ballpark where I was in that bridge. I had just turned 10. I was 9. I was gonna turn 10 that year. Hmm.
Ian says this Planet of the Apes 2001, The Grinch with Jim Carrey were the first DVDs I ever owned. Actually, my first DVD was based the Star Wars Attack the Clones. I came home one day and surprisingly, hey, look, Attack the Clones. What the heck is this thing?
On top of that, uh, I love the interactive DVD because it used to open up with like the metallic Jurassic Park 3 logo, and something was bumping it, and then these claws slice through, and it's a raptor poking its eye, like saying, "Are you anybody there?" And then the doors open up, and then you'd see the picture of the Billy being chased by the pteranodon. And like I
Hmm.
mentioned, this thing was loaded with features, just chock full.
Even the Blu-rays, it's like I was kind of dumbfounded how much this has way more featurettes than like the first movie or the second one. And even then, those ones at least had extra stuff put in later when they were doing their return stuff.
But
Oh, he's whack. Oh, he's whack.
oh, hey John.
Kind of late to the party in this one.
But yeah,
The Mummy 1999 is my
first
first.
DVD. Oh, that was a good movie. But but yeah, like I said though, uh, this I was into it. I didn't even get that upset when the T Rex died. I was like, okay, this new guy's cool.
When I went to see it, I remember vividly that it was precursed by a teaser for a certain superhero movie that would be coming around the year after. A certain whip web headed but helmed by Sam Raimi with
Was
Tobey Maguire.
was that the famous World Trade Center?
It 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 was. It's because it's the movie came out in July of 2001, so that teaser came before 9/11 happened, where they had to pull the trailers out.
I just realized Jurassic Park 3 probably was allowed to do all that plane stuff because this was pre 9/11.
Oh yeah, I did. Oh my god! Imagine how they would probably had to fashion in like a boat sequence or something.
Because people probably still reeling from plane crashes of any type.
Hmm.
God, yeah. Man, it's so funny. You can tell pre 9/11 movies from post 9/11 movies with how they handle planes. Like, Con Air probably wouldn't have happened the way it was if it was made post 9/11.
Oh my god! Imagine the first Final Destination movie having to happen.
hmm But, yeah, I remember this one was really fun, really into it. The dinosaurs sounded bigger and booming. Everything looked real to me. And when I had that tape, I watched the hell out of that tape. It was probably, other than The Lost World, my most rewatched Jurassic Park film. Like, I think we said this. If you want to put time for the other movies, you actually got to set aside time to watch both Jurassic Park 1 and 2. Like, they're 2 hours, pretty brisk. But this one, if you have an afternoon and say, I want to watch dinosaurs, you can put this in on and have a good time watching it.
the the Spinosaurus is like was definitely one of my favorites to the point I'll always actually, I know a lot of people say that they were trying to downgrade the Spinosaurus being a factor, but at least to the credit to the theme parks, they still keep the Spinosaurus statue for the photo ops still there along with the T-Rex over a different Jurassic Park Jeep. And every time I always manage to try to get a photo with the Spino and then one with the T-Rex.
Hold on, I think I might actually.
Oh my god, if you're actually gonna try to like look up a picture that you took with the Spino or the T-Rex, we're gonna be here for a while.
All right, I have it saved. Okay, there's the Jeep. There's the Beetlejuice. There's Blue.
I got some pictures of Blue too.
Wait, I don't even think
Uh,
Hollywood had the Spinosaurus.
it was a Florida thing. That's kind of shocking.
Oh, anyway, but yeah. But like I said though, I used to have a Spinosaurus toy too. I had the one that was white with the brownish rust color on the top, and it was the Aqua Attack Spinosaur. What's funny is he made
It,
the cutest little sound. He made it so like that. And
it's it that's it's always so funny. It always I feel like they kind of mixed up the sound boxes. I feel like that's one that's meant for like a Velociraptor toy or something.
mm-hmm. And then but yeah.
Yet Ian confirms that the Spinosaurus stand is in Florida,
Okay.
and he also had the toy that you got,
Mhm. Uh,
which considering the noise you described, yeah, I definitely have that, and I'm ashamed to admit it, I was kind of rough with that toy to the point where his jaw is dislocated. Well, not to the point where it's like hanging off or something, but he's just kind of got this like goofy, sharp look to him,
which I
like his
think
like jaws.
most fans would probably say is accurate. Anyway, watching the documentary, I like how Joe Johnston admitted that he was doing design for machinery and stuff and had a boring life, and then went to go see Jaws and thought
Ian says he sounds like Talon from Primal Rage.
accurate. But yeah, so he says that he wanted to do movies after watching Jaws because he ended up working for ILM the next year. So in him being full circle, being asked to make Jurassic Park and do some homages to Jaws, is pretty full circle. I have a
And I,
taxidermist on the island. He's gonna have a heart attack when he sees what I brought him.
and honestly, I think in hindsight, I think the third Jurassic Park movie being the first theatrical makes sense for like a little kid to see, considering the fact how brisk it is. It definitely doesn't like uh do any big preamble time like the first two movies do. They get you right into the action. You know what you're in there for. You're to see dinosaur carnage. And you get exactly what you're getting.
Well, yeah, it's like 5 minutes with Grant talking to the people, another 5 minutes with Paul Kirby, and then we're on the island. Like hell, I think even you went, holy crap, when the plane went boom, and you're like, we're already going to the island.
Like wow, usually in a normal movie we'd still be like discussing about wanting to go or not.
But oh my god, like I said, I've, I've I've always had a soft spot for this one, and I've always heard people hating on it. Oh, by the way, I got to bring this up since we brought up the critic review. I love how he had a running gag of the motherfucking T Rex song in like the first two reviews. So when he did it three, he's like the song's playing all full, like oh motherfucker. He's like yeah, go get him. And then when he gets bit, he does I'm a oh shit. That oh shit always gets me.
To be fair, the song actually only debuted in the first one, but his first Jurassic review was Lost World. That was way earlier in his you know his pre revamp days.
Is that the one with Rob in the Velociraptor mask?
I'm a dinosaur.
I love Rob as General Zod. I think he plays General Zod just as well as Michael Shannon. Like, oh
Mhm.
no, you're showing him the scary skull. Oh, don't show him that. Look, Cal, it's gonna be great. You got like a duck and a bunny, and he's doing the whole like you're showing him the
What are you
wrong stuff.
showing skulls? Skulls! Um, seriously, John, I need to see that scene. That's that killed me every time it
But
happens.
I think if they couldn't get Michael Shannon to play, General Zod for Flash, they should have gotten Rob to do him. He would have been enthusiastic about it.
I eat up good.
Well, I think it's funny
Uh,
if he plays a good General Zod, then Doug does a really good Terrence Stamp Zod.
yeah, it does. It definitely can't do it anymore because we kind of uh let go of his waning hairline.
Okay, but yeah. Um. Anyway, God, wait, sidetrack. But I love that oh shit with the motherfucking T-Rex. I laughed so hard the first time I saw that. It's like I'm a motherfucking oh shit. Even the music is cut off, and critic was like blinking, like what? And then the T-Rex is like, no, no, how could you? No, but T-Rex, like just. I think a big deal has been made out of the T-Rex death being like the sole reason, to the point where I was discussing dinosaur concepts for a comic for the associate, and she said that she didn't want to suggest Spino as an obvious thing because she's like, oh, it's the lit edge, and plus, the backlash to it. And I thought the character she has would have fit perfectly well with a Spinosaurus. In fact, we do see Spinosauruses in positive media still, with the Dino Squad having their female member be the Spinosaurus.
I think one of the dinosaurs, the Dino Charge, has a Spinosaurus
Zord.
sword. Yeah,
Yeah, but like I says, I think Spiny is overhated. I think the hate for 3 is forced. Yes, it's definitely not a leg up next to Steven's efforts, but come on, Steven freaking Spielberg. But I think Joe Johnston should be proud of the work he did on it, and it looks like he had a lot of fun making it. And if I were to be blessed to make a Jurassic film, I'd probably hope to be half as good as Joe Johnston's.
yeah. Like, it's honestly, I wonder why they didn't like ask him to do like a one of the. Well, I guess there's Colin Trevorrow and like his crew were kind of like tight knit on wanting to do like a consistent lineup, but
Who
still,
knows?
you could have had a Joe Johnston Jurassic World Dominion movie. Just kind of imagine that one a little bit.
Probably would have been more coherent. But then again, COVID really threw a wrench in that one. But we'll get to that when we get to that.
But yeah, I pretty much have the same feelings and thoughts to it. I have just as much of a nostalgic connection to that, just as much as I do with Phantom Menace with Star Wars. And yeah, I just felt like it's definitely darker. It's got a little bit more blood and teeth to it. It definitely it's basically what Roger Ebert described. It's basically a B movie that's kind of elevated with the Jurassic Park stamp of crafting like the effect work and all that.
And also, shout out to Kathleen Kennedy. I know she's the bane of many people's existence now, but she's the one that insisted on. She says, her words. I think the reason Jurassic Park is so relevant is that it uses all the tools of the trade. We use classic actors, all the effects types from CG to practical to painting and all that stuff. That it all comes together to really like connect with people. And I think she was the one that insisted on getting them for Joe Johnston. Like get ILM, get Michael Lantieri, get all those guys, Sam Winston. So um part of you see her name up in front and center when they do the executive producers for the first 3 movies. She didn't go on to do the other ones because by that point she was already running Lucasfilm for George. So, but I think Kathy's approach is what really helped these movies stand the test of time. So I don't think she gets enough credit for that. She wasn't just Steven's coffee girl. She wasn't just, oh, she got the position because she's married to one of the producers. She put the work in. Some of the solutions they needed, they had to go to Kathy for.
Exactly, and
I,
I'll just be laughing every time people are hoping that she gets fired from her job, and she just keeps going. It's like, oh hell no, I ain't planning on retiring anytime soon.
yeah, I just figured since this is the last movie she's involved with before the World Series, I'd best shout her out now because when we watched all those Return to Jurassic Park documentaries, who did we see pop up more often than Steven? Kathy. And I don't know what deal she made with what supernatural force, but just like Laura, my God, Kathy looks good for someone pushing 70.
He's 70?
Mm-hmm. Kathy Kennedy's like seven.
Oh,
Yeah. Mhm.
oh my God. So yeah, it's great fun cast, great effects. It's like as I I just really can't put it into any more words than I've already have. It's
Also, Sam Neill's
I
very
am I've always
Sam
I've
Neill's very
always
proud
been
of this
like
movie.
yeah, he definitely is, but I've always completely keep being surprised at how much the effect work was done in this movie to the point where I feel like it definitely gets a bad rap. It needs to be recognized for what how much like of old school tricks they were able to still sneak in to put in to make it seem more personal and more alive as like the first two movies did.
Oh, by the way, we didn't even touch on Joe Johnston's music of Jurassic Park, where he was John Williams' personal choice to replace him because he had scheduling conflicts with the Sorcerer's Stone.
Hmm.
And Don Davis had, of course, he was famous musically for doing the Matrix movies, and I joke that some of the Matrix makes it into his score.
Imagine the dinosaurs floating around.
Like specifically, like if you watch it again, the scene where Billy gets picked up by the pteranodons before he gets dropped into water again, it sounds like the horns that play when they do a big jump in the Matrix.
Whew.
But for the most part, he was able to keep it very Jurassic Parkian. Like even his version of the island theme sounds much more triumphant than even the Williams stuff when they do like the flyby.
Or the like uh coast by on the boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's really good at mimicking Williams' style without, and I don't think his music gets enough credit. It's probably my favorite score besides The Lost World. Anyway, okay, so sorry to cut
But,
off your thoughts, but I thought we'd bring up that music too.
mhm. But yeah, I think I covered everything I thought. It was just, like good cast, good effects, good monsters, good intense action. Uh, since like just as Ian said, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that lives rent free in our heads than we ever wanted to admit before, and it definitely goes without saying. This is definitely not a movie that you need to like scoff at. It's definitely got as much of a right to be in the legacy of Jurassic World as like the other movies. In fact, even it the Jurassic Park 3 video game lineup, aside from the arcade and all that, will lead to like Operation Genesis, which
Ooh,
would be
fan
the
favorite.
precursor to the much touted fan favorite that would lead to a spiritual successor with the Jurassic World Evolution games.
We're
And
totally gonna have a game centered episode.
I'll definitely try to get myself a copy of that game sometime so I can see what's the hoopla about. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to go off from Nick from Game Apologist's gameplay of it. But needless to say, I'm not usually a sim game girl, but it's when dinosaurs are involved. Yeah, Nick's definitely got a point. When you add dinosaurs into like a genre like this, I'm definitely gonna be involved in it.
Mm-hmm. Although I got one 0 out of 10 thing for Jurassic Park 3. No Dilophosaurus reference. 0 out of 10. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't worry, she'll get hers. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely got like it had its moment in the sun. It's still gonna be fondly remembered for it. But
I think people
anything,
have grown more fonder of it. Cause I've heard podcasts of like current Jurassic fans who talk about how 3 is one of their favorites, and other guys in the things like, no, you gotta say The Lost World just to be jokey. Like this in general podcast, they love people who keep coming up to say they actually like 3. So, um, I mean, and plus we got, if you want a testament to how popular 3 is, Target just released their Hammond collection Spinosaurus, and good luck getting a
oh my
copy of that
god,
because
I want it. I want it now.
and it is
I literally tried to go through Amazon. Nobody wants to sell it on there.
and the if you go to the Target app, you have to put a notify me when back because you might as well think this thing was a Switch 2 with how it gone as fast. But then again, people have been asking for a spiny toy of that scale, and to finally get it at a cheap, relatively cheap price point, it's a dream toy. So, uh, if Jurassic Park 3 was still as hated as it was back then, I don't think you'd be seeing Spiny selling out anywhere. In fact, people are excited about Spinosaurus returning in Rebirth, but they're ticked off that it doesn't look like the three Spiny, who was a one-off.
Not a total one-off, as I kind of heard that he makes an appearance in Camp Cretaceous. So yeah,
But yeah, but it just shows you how he's become beloved over time, much like the Star Wars prequels, much like characters like Grievous and Maul. I think the Spinosaurus has earned his place in Jurassic history. Now, you'll still find that one person who still hates it and like, okay, that's fine, but I think he's grown more loved over time.
hmm
Anyway, but
so anything else you got to add?
um, no, no, not that I can think of. But I think we covered this one extensively as we could. In fact, but you could argue that we're like this movie played twice in a row with how long we've gone on it.
So yeah, we've reached the end of our tour. Thank you for joining us on complete our tour of the rest of Site B. Come back next time as we turn to the island that started it all, now under new management. It is our privilege to announce the park will finally be open, and we hope you'll join us to celebrate 10 years of Jurassic World.
All right, then. That sounds like a lot of fun. So this is Johnny Cat 79, aka Chris, signing off with my usual co-host Erica, aka Dark Neon.
It, it's definitely no walk in the park, but we managed to make it the best we can.
All right, and remember, Kirby Paint and Tile Plus on Westgate. All right, take care.
Bye bye.